And we are live, or at least in theory. Hello, hello, all. Hello, Ray Ray. Oh, all of ye of little faith that will get out of Noscea today. You're almost certainly right, though, knowing our pace from yesterday. However, we'll attempt to go a little faster. I'm gonna give it a minute here to let people come in if they want. End the poll. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and I'll start on the Marauders Guild, seeing as it's not MSQ. Has the training loosened your muscles and focused your mind, Elio? An urgent request. Oh wait, Cookie Monster, right? Me Cookie. An urgent. Me love Cookie. An axe urgent request for help has arrived from Red Rooster's Den, and I have choose you respond. It appears a hostile group of megalocrabs has unwittingly elected itself the next test of your powers. I said no just to be contrary. As this is your first outing, an official mandate. A mandate duty. You shall be accompanied. I'm going like half Yoda. Be accompanied by a veteran, a conjurer by the name of Sulkwib. She awaits you on the floor below. May devastation follow in your wake. Okay, now I just want Cookie Monster saying, may devastation fall in your wake. How's everybody doing? Aye, Elio, I know who you are. My brother often has me escort his fledgling marauders on their more dangerous tasks. I suppose Wernzone expects me to give you details then. Very well. It seems the farmer needest clear a megalocrab nest near the Mourning Widow in Lower Noscea. I shall trust you find your own way there. Just don't forget your axe. As if I could lose it. So, one of the things after end of stream last night is I went ahead and grabbed all of the Aethrytes, so that our live would be a lot easier. Although notably, looks like the easiest way is going to be from going from Limsa for here. We'll finish up this Marauder quest and then hit up the MSQ. I think that's the plan. Right? Yes. Hey, Genesis. Also, hey, Ren. I forgot to say hey. Mostly just laughed at your contrarianism. North, right? Yes. Oh, goo-goo. Seems more like a toad nest than a megalocrab nest. Fun fact, whenever you see this staff, the writing on it says, "Thou art that and that is all," if you translate it. Looks as if nobody was home. Mayhap they knew we were coming? Aid! I need aid! Please, it's my grandson. Them snippers got him. Told Sigurd not to get too close. I told him. Hey, Tracy. Get the weapons ready, Elio. We need to move on. Now. It's a three-toed crab. I love how he comes running up to me as if we, like, couldn't hear or see this, like, a couple yards away. Ah, bugger shit! Get me away from me, you bloody great bastard! What a kid! That's his. Imagine if that was his final words. Soulwib is a hottie. Apparently there's a lot of road love in the stream. Oh, no tank stance at this level. I should probably turn off the tips. It's not like I don't already know it. Hey, Phantom. Hey, I'm currently doing a New Game Plus story replay. Awesome. What city you start in? I don't think we're getting out of the Noscea, but I hope. Well, I'm gonna hope that we get to Sasasha today. That's not for a bit. Fun fact for those of you who played Endwalker, Bar shows up at the Ilsabardian contingent. When you see the people from the guild for Limsa Laminsa, you see Alcasolka and him. Thanks, you mister. I can't even play outside no more. What with these scary monsters about? Me ma and me dad, they were both killed by some nasty bugger not so long ago. Ugh, an Aurochs, big as a mountain. But I bet you could beat it. Aye, make it pay for what it did to me, folks. You take it easy. You take it easy now, son. There's a whole guild full of strapping lads and lasses like Elio here who will be glad to do just that. All you need to do is head home with your grandpa. You let us worry about that big nasty bugger. Consider your first duty a success, Elio. It's time you headed back as well, before Warzone begins to worry. I left you a corpse for the crabs. Gridania because I originally chose Lancer as my first job when I first started playing a long time ago, but I'm currently main Gunbreaker. Nice! I picked Ul'dah because I picked Paladin to start with, because I'm a basic bitch. Though during Realm Reborn I played Warrior, I think, most of the time, and then when I got to Heaven's Word I played Dark Knight up until around 5.55, and sometime during that I switched over to Paladin, kind of for Endwalker, and also kind of just because I had a feeling that Dark Knight was going to get royally messed up during Endwalker, just because it had just been the poster boy, and I just had a sense, and I feel pretty vindicated. Because, at least for my taste, Dark still feels wonky. I think everyone does. Gridania, as I made Archer Bard. Yeah. What is the most common in the group of friends I have? In my friends, the most common by far is Gridania. So I think you're right. I think I'm one of the odd men out in terms of Ul'dah. Did you guys pick based on, like, starting city, or did most of you just pick based on the class you wanted? Would Batman be a Dark Knight? If Batman was in this world, would he be a Dark Knight? Yeah, his unquenchable desire for vengeance, yeah. He'd be a Dark Knight or possibly, like, not really a rogue, but I mean, really, like, Thancred is to the Scions what Batman is to the Justice League. Like, the one guy without powers, but a really good detective and really good at subterfuge and a really competent combatant. So, Dojibi. Okay, let's try this. Oh, sorry. So it's S. I forget what the S sound for the tribes is, but I think it's... So, I'm going to go... Doji. I'm just gonna go Doji. So Sajoji needs your help to prepare a tree. Oh no, that's just a regular quest. I always pick a class that starts in Gridania. I love the city. I really love the music. I think it's by far my least favorite starting city because it's just so small and unimpressive to me. Though I really appreciate the 12th one, and I appreciate Gridania. Don't get me wrong, but it just, yeah. I've never been a huge, like, forest person or, like, you know, but its musical theme, Whalers and Water Wheels, is fantastic, even though part of it is just straight up the Shire theme. I picked on based on class because I really like dragons. Dragoon. Yeah, that makes sense. I go based on city I want to be based in, so I usually start as a Marauder and then change at 10 to Rogue. Okay. So you have shattered the shell of the megalocrabs and saved the life of a child into the bargain. Thus does our violent craft prove its merit. Well done, Elio. You deserve a cookie. Though no longer a threat to the farmers, you should know that it is unusual for such crabs to be found so near the Stred. By all accounts, the creature were outside from their usual feeding ground by a Morpheus beast. The beast of which I speak is known as Terror in the lands of Noscea, ever seeking to expand its territory. And the boy's parents were but two of the many victims to fall in its rampage. It is a threat that must be dealt with ere long. Do thoughts of vengeance split your mind, Elio? Nurture your urges, but do not act upon them yet. This monstrosity is far beyond your present skills. If you would answer the lad's cry for revenge, then you must grow stronger. Become the raging behemoth this is the challenge demands. I don't think I need any of these. Okay, let's do MSQ. And if we're finding we need abilities and stuff, we'll come back to doing... Yet again, fastest way is probably to just hit the Aethryte. I picked based on class. I ended up in Gridania's Lancer. Seems to be a common thing. One of my best friend in the world, he's a big Lancer dude, and also a huge fan of Gridania. I picked based on class. Lancer, I just felt the swords were overdone, so polearms are my second pick, plus machinists weren't available. Yeah, like that's the difficulty, right? Is because when Heaven's Word, they made it that you had to actually be at Heaven's Word. You can't pick any of those, and then you also have to be at a higher level to grab the other ones from Stormblood, Shadowbringers, and Endwalker. But yeah, you know it's funny in my mind because of Final Fantasy, I see as dragoons as way more overdone than swords, because there's not a lot of like just traditional ass sword wielders in modern Final Fantasy. Like, yes, you've got Noctis with his like sword, but his sword's like an engine sword, and it's not really a and also his whole thing is that he has all of like the the king's regalia. In 13 you have lightning sword, but hers is a transforming gun. And nobody else is really using swords. Then you have 12, in which no one really has any dedicated weapon because they can all be any class. Then you have 11, which is MMO. 10, which you have Titus and Orin. But Orin uses a big fuck-off sword, and Titus uses also relatively large swords, and they're also kind of not standard. But I also really love his swords, so, yeah. Bloody hells, I'm up straight without a paddle. Oh, doubt. Caps lock would stop that, yeah. Where the fuck you been? What's this now? Sailworn sent you for the oranges. Huh, so the old bugger had known all this time. Ugh, what does it matter anyways? Listen, you're one of those goody-goody adventurer types, right? Good. Go rescue me mates from those double-dealing goblins. They're just over yonder by the bonfire. The questline is such a huge anticlimax when you get to the big fight at the end. Yeah, honestly, there's quite a few that are like that. I'm so glad the New Game Plus is an option in 14, so I don't have to create new characters to re-experience the story. Yep, it was one of the really, really nice quality of life features they added. Oh, poor gobbies. It depends on class for me, yeah, though Gridani is probably my least favorite of the three. Oron is the best ever. Oron is the best ever. God, I love Final Fantasy X so much, and I love... Ugh. It's a good fucking game. I owe you one. Would have gotten myself in if not for Severin shoving me aside. No, not the Gobbies. I mean, to be fair, the Gobbies brought this on themselves, though they were also pushed out, so it was also kind of a little bit put on them. Severin sent you. Ha! The way he flew out here, I was sure he'd sold us down the river. I mean, the funny thing, too, right, about the Gobbies is that we think of them now as friendly because we're used to, like, Aethylshire and all those things, but up until you get to Aethylshire, your experience with goblins is almost all negative, other than, like, Mudamix and, like, a couple, like, Rosy Cheeks and Limsa. There's, like, a couple of examples, but they're intentionally labeled as, like, the odd men out. If you hadn't come, my dodo would have been cooked. Cooked dodo. I picked Dragoon because I wanted to start in Gridania, but I switched to Dancer as soon as I was able, though when I made it an alt, I started in Limsa because it's the best. Yeah, I get that too. It's hard when the class you want is not the city you want. I mean, the nice part about going in blind, right, is that you don't have the wherewithal to know. You saved me, mates, and for that I owe you. Suppose I should be ashamed I couldn't clean up my own mess. But a pirate knows no shame. I've no qualms about going back on my word. I'm only giving you these sacks because I like to cut of your jib. Take it to Osnin and then send him in my regards. Okay, dude. Okay. The sword is also good for infantry as there's less of a chance for collateral damage than with firearms, and evidently some people aren't firearm experts, i.e. Shinra's soldiers program. Yeah, I mean, if you think about in terms of just Final Fantasy XIV, right, in the way in which people need to be trained for machinist, broadly, even somewhat amongst the Limpsons, firearms are not a huge skill set that a lot of people have. I mean, there's a reason that a lot of people still use martial abilities. True, I had no idea what I was doing when I started, but I'm glad I wasn't in Ul'dah because I still get lost every time I'm there. Yeah, and that's understandable. I mean, to be fair, that's actually kind of why I like Ul'dah, is because of the cities. To me, it feels the most expansive and like a city, whereas like New Gridania is tiny and Old Gridania is just a loop and kind of a pain in the ass to like do. What have we here? A delivery from the Summerford Farms, and as scheduled. Ha! That's the first time for everything. Well, look at that. Not a single one missing either. About the only things not here are those bagmen, and I don't miss them one bit. Here, Sailworn's payment in full. With you, I can trust it'll reach him. Actually, I can just teleport. I played Dragoon. Excuse me. I played Dragoon throughout the entire MSQ, but I switched to Gunbreaker. Easily became my favorite job, and that is what I'm doing. My New Game Plus playthrough on. Yeah, I really enjoyed playing Gunbreaker. I played a lot of it, especially in PvP during Shadowbringers, because they had a lot of the quality of life that exists now for Gunbreakers. The PvP version had, but not the PvE version, like having continuation and all that on one button. I really enjoy Gunbreaker. Currently, it's my second favorite tank to play behind Paladin. Back in one piece. Ah, that's a relief. How did you fare, Forgeron? Ah, this is what I've been aiming for. Looks to be all I was owed. Alright, though I'd be telling you false if I claimed I had not held out more hope for Severin. I was even willing to overlook the skimming off the top, but to sell us all short in the favor of those godforsaken goblins. You do well to mind yourself around the two guild cheat. If he'd leave his own mates for dead, there's no telling what he'd do to you. Blast! At this rate, the crops will never be ready for harvest. If only we had black loam. Just a bit could send our stocks soaring. I bet Rotwida knows what you might find some. Perhaps you might pay her a visit in the orchard. Goblin lore is probably one of my favorite of the tribes. I love that their Eorzean is basically trying to make their more complex and nuanced language into the dumb tongue. Yeah, it's basically, yeah, the conjunction of it all, like Busy makes. Oh man, doing research on, actually, frick, I never put out my normal Goblin video. I only put out the funny Goblin, the April Fool's Goblin video. But doing heavy research into that was just a blast about all that stuff about rot tea and understanding that where they're coming from and their pilgrimage, and also why they were safe during the Umbral Calamity. Daegu Khan's got a head of cabbage if he thinks I'm fetching him any black loam. But if you dare to pinch some from the cookpot, then be my guest. Just mind that you don't get trampled on by the Aurochs and dwell there. Once you 3 bushels worth, take the black loam to Perfwell. At Tiller's Rest, he'll know what to do. I think I know where those Aurochs are. I think they're, yeah, right there. But yeah, I love the Gobbies. And I had a lot of fun time during Tomfix. That was a very fun time doing that entire thing. Although, sadly, it doesn't seem like a lot of people watched it, but, you know, it's a random April Fool's video about goblins. It's understandable. And funny enough, Ul'dah is easiest to navigate for me. That's interesting, Boral. I mean, like, that's the thing, though, right? Is that one man's chaos is another man's order in terms of just making heads or tails of it. My weird thing about not being able to find my way around is in my brain, I always think the south on the Limpson map is north and the north is south, because for some reason I always think that the market is eastward and not westward. So like that's one thing I've had to like really work to change my brain around, but that is the one thing that like I always do wrong. Took me a while to get acquainted with the geography of one main city, never mind the others. Yeah, 3D space makes a lot of sense for me. Like, the 2D space is really hard sometimes to get my bearings in, but just 3D space makes a lot of sense. I can never seem to find the market. In my brain, I know where it is, yet I still go the wrong way every time unless I use the Aethrytes. Honestly, I just use the Aethrytes too. Like, it's so much faster. So how's the life of a normal adventurer feel? It depends on the adventurer, right? Oh, hi, Super Side Swiper. Good to see you. Also, hi, JT. Hi, Eglinton. Hi, AC, if I didn't say that. Hi, Boral, if I didn't say that. Hi, Suzanne, if I didn't say that. I think that's everyone that I didn't say hi to this. But the normal life of an adventurer, I think if you want a good example of that, you could look at the, Avere and like that whole group, and Ada. That would give you a good idea what the normal adventure is like. Or look at some of like the C-class Scions, like not quite Hoary Boulder, but some of the other people that hang out in the Rising Stones or Waking Sands. Makes you feel like a gopher of light. And going to get a bull poop soon at how the beginning starts. Bull poop. I haven't done Limsa, so I actually don't necessarily know which one you're referring to. Oh, you mean literally the black loam. Right. Quite literally a steaming sack of shit. Hello. I love first visit to Idleshire. They blew up the barrier on the bridge and we ran for our lives. Yeah, whenever I've had to use footage of an explosion, it's that shot, because it's also really funny how you're standing there and the goblins are standing back, and then you look back and I think it's Alfino and Y'shtola have already are running away, and you're like, fuck. Dip out. Oh, well, I don't know why I ran all the way over here when it's Tiller's Rest I need to go to. Hey, Eden. Hey, Merlin. JR, that's a topic at JT I don't do research on myself. Oof, you reminded me of Ada. Well, we're getting to Sasasha pretty soon. I wonder, do people do laundry in this world? Yes, I know that there's at least one clothesline somewhere around here that you can see. Rock those red pants, my friend. Rock them. Hey, Scribe. Thanks. Yeah, it's a look, right? We're not doing glamour. We're going full armor. We're matching with what goes with the where we are in the story. No matter how clownish it is. I was about to make a joke about yellow shoes. I just realized my shoes are actually yellow. We're like halfway to Sora from Kingdom Hearts at this point. Someone get me a Keyblade and spiky hair. Well, wait, I think I have the cloud hair. That gets me pretty close. Arg, even the weeds wither and die in this desolate dirt. And so here's your poop, sir. But a bit of this black loam ought to change all that. I haven't seen any in ages. Gathering black loam's not for the weak of will, nor the weak of stomach, eh? Oh, don't tell me Gurkhant and his Whedon neglected to mention where black loam comes from. Well, surely you figured it out on your way from the cloying stench. It comes from the Aurochs' lair of all places. Well, why dwell on this on who mislead who about what? What matters is that your efforts have brought us the black loam, and we can expect a bountiful harvest as a result. Thank ye. Actually, do I have a band or a ring? I think I have rings. Okay, no, I already have them. Her phone needs stolen. Confounded pirates! They know nothing of tillin', only killin'. Stealing our shovels to melt and forge into axes of all things. They bite in the hand that feeds them. The mangy mongrels. I'd love to teach those cars a lesson about obedience myself if I hadn't sworn to Staleburn that I wouldn't fight no more. So I need you to bring back our farm tools and make sure those dogs reap what they've sown. Let's kick some pirate ass. It took me a while to actually care about a lot of characters. I really started to care about the story and characters right at the end of AR, so 2.4 or 2.5. Yeah, Phantom, I had a similar issue for just a bunch of reasons that weren't even necessarily the game's fault. The irony, right, is that retroactively, I love A Realm Reborn so much more and enjoy it so much more now from the relationships I have and can appreciate the lore tidbits that are being dropped and they actually matter rather than being like, why the fuck am I looking about Black Loam? Where, like, why am I picking up poop? Can I, like, do my story, please? So no, it's understandable. I had a similar experience where it was around 2.3. It was when Moonbrita comes in, and then especially around 2.5 or so that it really got into it. And also, you know, voiceover really helps. Well, hello, I managed to catch the stream finally live. Hey, Tealer, glad to have you. Glad you could catch it. Wash your hands as soon as possible. Yeah, we'll go for a dip in the river after I knock this guy out. Here. Oh, right, I don't have it on this character. Well. I think the Adventurers League is a great idea of looking how they operate and their scale of the world. Well, the Adventurers League is interesting. The Adventurers Guild is kind of interesting, right? Because... No, this is the Company of Heroes I'm thinking about. Yeah, the Adventurers League is not a bad way to think about it. I think that is a good point, Boreal. For some reason, I was thinking about the Company of Heroes for a second. Don't forget the convoluted backstory to go full Sora. Just gonna point to the Keyblade in the background, cry a little, and yeah. That is accurate. Look, I mean, there's already some timey-wimey bullshit, but at least it's consistent. Why don't we see pirates use cutlasses more around Limsa? Well, I mean, one, cutlasses thing, right, is a iconography and a stereotype that is more like our world. In fact, if anything, I would say that the more, like, representative image of dragon or of pirates at this point is more like the pistol, and in a lot of cases the axe more than the cutlass. Hello, I really recently beat Stormblood, and the main problem I have with the story is how even though we're the Warrior of Light, we're also treated as a low-level messenger, handyman, and just plain muscle. You know, Eden, I don't mind that in Heaven's Word and in Stormblood. I think that still works for me. I think especially about how that, like, diminishes over the time of Shadowbringers and Endwalker. I like that there's a progression. I also don't mind it because it's so important for us to understand the place in the world that it's more often than not less just about granting a message, but also getting us, like, when we get to Ralger's Reach, right? That's more about making us inculcated and familiar with all those people more than anything, to me. I understand some people's issue with pacing. Oh, Super Sides, thank you so much for the €5. That will never, thank you so much. Oh, your job quest need doing. Yes, we did one to do a warm-up, and we're going to do more, but I wanted to get a little bit of the MSQ done beforehand. I wonder what these dogs will try stealing and when there's no harvest. What I want to get to is I want to get to the attack on the town and the Ascian showing up. Good. See the tools back, and then in serviceable condition. Which will be more than we can say of Severin when we get our hands on him. That wretch likely had the role in the theft. Spied him meeting the pirates in secret, I did. I couldn't care less if the wastrel won't work, but when he's consorting with a cut purse, that takes our tools away, he's crossed the line. Staleburn ought to know what sort of scallywag he's dealing with. Take a word to him, would you? I actually just realized I don't I know the cutscene. I don't know chronologically where that scene where the pirates, the Reavers attack and the Ascian shows up is. I actually don't know how far in that is. Maybe we won't reach that. But yeah, if need be, if we need to get some skills, we'll hit up. We'll definitely hit up the Marauders before hitting Sastasha. That's for sure. Though we've got a bit of time until then. Think of it this way: if we ever travel to a new place, you'll be treated like a new adventurer. Pretty sure your reputation isn't far spread outside the 3 great continents, especially the 3 great continents. And up to Stormblood, it hasn't spread super far. Like, it's well known in the Eorzean city-states. By the time of Ishgard, it's known in by Heavensward, it's known in Ishgard. As we go through that, but we have to build it when it comes to the people of Alamigo. I mean, they've been annexed. They've been on the other side of Baelsar's wall this whole time, and on top of that, it's the same way in Shadowbringers, how you have to build up your a reputation there. And you also have to think, right, that even though you might have been heard of in Othard, it's a vast world, right? Imagine that in your home, there, in your state or your country or wherever you live, there's a very famous figure. I'm sure there is, right? But when someone comes from outside, they've never heard of him. Maybe a founder of your country, or all sorts of things. And so I think it's reasonable, and in my mind, it's very important, because if you don't take the time to be a messenger, if you don't take the time to inculcate yourself in an area, in a world, when you start to do major plot beats, they don't matter as much, because you don't have a connection to these people or this place. That's my take, anyways. Oh, Genesis! Jesus Christ! Thank you so much for the $30. Just to thank you for all your work you do, because it brings me joy when there's new content. Thank you so much, and that will be put to good use. I think my first thing I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to get a better camera that's not stuck on 30 FPS. Again, thank you so much. I'll get to the rest of them. Let's finish up this quest real quick. Wow. Pirates making off with our tools. Parfwal did well not taking matters into his own hands. Last thing I need is blood on my crops. But I'll be damned if Severin thinks he can take us for a fool. His treachery won't go unpunished. Anything useful? No. Let's get money. Okay, let's read these real quick. Usually as well in those situations, they don't know us and we haven't ourselves yet. Once you do some stuff, you get a lot of respect. Yep. Honestly, I think it's a good thing that the War of Light is not always on a pedestal. Totally. I think, like, by the time of Endwalker, right, you're on your highest heights of a pedestal, and the point of 6.1 is intentionally to try to bring you down to being a normal adventurer. When they add Trust to Heavensward, it'll be really cool if they let us run dungeons with Stinian, Noscea, and Horshfont. Yeah, I'm really interested to see how they're going to do it. My hope is that they're going to do the Trust-like duty support system, because it doesn't make sense, obviously, to have people from the Grand Companies. But at the same time, I can see an issue, because let's think of characters, right? You have Yssael, you have Stinian, and you have Alphino as the primary characters. The problem is that Yssael leaves the party at certain points, so you only have 3 characters. Also, that means that what happens if you're not a tank? Right? Was Yssael able to be the tank? I mean, that makes sense. So you just treat Yssael as the flex role. Alphino is the healer at the time because he's an arcanist. And then treat Stinian as DPS. I think that works. But also, what happens if you want to play healer? So you'd also... No, because you could also play Alphino as both DPS and healer. And I think that would work. Yeah, that would... There we go. But what happens when Yssael leaves your party? I don't... You'd have to figure that out. Although maybe, is there a dungeon in between? No, because you do the Aerie, don't you? So yeah, I'm not quite sure. Also, Estinian's doing his thing during the Aerie. There's a whole mechanic with him yeah, that's hard. If you enjoy the stream, if you aren't already, thank you, Ray. Tomahawk is a job quest, and also job quest gives armor. Yeah, okay, Super Swise, then let's get to that sooner rather than later. Thanks, Genesis. That's understandable. I suppose just sort of wish these instances where we were treated this way were written better is all, I guess. I mean, yeah, you are not the only person to voice that complaint. I don't have it myself, but I understand. I don't, yeah. Eglinton, I like that some folks still call my Warrior of Light adventurer. Yeah. I've come to expect a great deal from you, lad, and you never once let me down. Yet what I'd ask you now goes beyond aught I've asked before. Would you hear my plea all the same? Yeah, we're going to finish this little arc, and then we'll go do the next Marauders. It eases my mind to have your ear. You've no doubt familiar with the scoundrel Severin by now. Well, that scheming scapegrace is at it again. Since the letter came for him, he's been skulking about in that manner. He does what he's up to no good. Now he's rounded up his rogues and buggered off with nary a word to anyone. I've grown accustomed to his insolence, but something tells me this is different. It ain't exactly damning, but when last I had words with him, he didn't look defiant, so much as haunted. I can't help but thinking he's gone looking for trouble and found more than he wanted. So I was hoping you might hunt his sorry hide down and drag it back here before it's too late. The ungrateful little cur bites me every chance he gets, but I can't quite bring myself to cut him loose. Suppose he reminds me a bit of my younger self. Suffice it to say, I'd rather he didn't come to a sticky end. As for how he'd find him, I'd try asking Greenweeda at the Aethryte. She was the last one to see him. I dare say she'll be able to tell you where he's headed. I love the new duty support system. Oh my god, I can go into those early instances and really explore. Hey, D. Yeah, well, also there's the adventure system. There's the exploration system, if you're not familiar with that as well, which I can't show you because I don't have it currently. But if you ever wanted to just explore, get good photos, and not have to worry about enemies, or also be able to limit break at any time for whatever reason, that also works really well. But yeah, I'm so glad for the duty support system. Less even for me and more for future players and people who are afraid of MMOs or socializing or other players. Now have a chance to be able to play ARR, kind of get into their groove, and then be able to play with other people. Because there's still trials, there's still all sorts of things. So it's not like, oh, now people can play the entire game without other people. So I'm a big proponent of the whole system. Nothing that passes through this gate escapes my notice. I saw the Rouser and his rabble set out for the Wood Whisper cannon not long ago, singing about drinking themselves stupider. Cheeky sod said I should join them. I told them I'd rather shrivel up than sip whatever it was that had pickled their brains. If you find the idle swine, be sure to give them a cuff around the ears from me, will ya? Let's get there going. Okay. Let's read. I like this animated commercials for Finalizing 14 because it shows the average life of adventure. Yep. By the end, Warrior of Light is like the most famous person in the world. You know, it's interesting. Our tales are known about, and probably we might be the most singularly famous person in the world. But what's really interesting is people don't necessarily know us, like our physical image, or necessarily when it's us. So many people, you'll be talking to people who talk about the Warrior of Light to you in places like Sharlayan. So as much as the Warrior of Light is famous as a symbol, it doesn't necessarily mean people know us. Would it be funny if Tombstone smartphones became a widespread thing in Final Fantasy 14? Well, Tombstones as smartphones, I'm not sure how canonical those are because Tombstones really are just supposed to basically be flash drives, effectively. But you know, we have link pearls, right? And while those have limitations, they aren't that different. But yeah, I guess a smartphone is different. That's a link pearl is a dumb phone and also limited because of the link shell it's connected to. But yeah. It's no problem at all. The stream is keeping me company while I work as well, so it can't be active in chat. No worry, Genesis. I'm glad I'm to anyone who is listening and either doesn't want to engage or it's just they prefer to just listen in. I'm glad to have you all the same, and I hope this provides some kind of benefit or support. Yep, this is why I hope we finally get to Marauders 7.0. I am of the opinion 7.0 is most likely Marauders. That is my personal opinion. It is rooted in some evidence, but there's evidence to suggest other things. But I'm definitely going with 7.0 being Marauders. I'd be careful about talking in chat about the events of 6.1 in terms of referencing why you might not think 7.0 would be Marauders. Just gonna warn that there. Let's do it. Of all the dirty, deceitful, downright dastardly deeds that slippery bastard's done, claiming to take the lads out for a drink, only to lead us straight into a bloody trap. I don't get no lower than that. Of course, I learned to stay a step ahead of old Severin, so I was ready, but the others weren't so lucky, so you gotta help them. Another thing I did for my New Game Plus playthrough, I finally downloaded G-Shade and the game looks so much better. Yeah, the thing about G-Shade, right, is the game, my biggest issue is that it's just so desaturated. And there's not a lot of shadows. My other issue, and luckily on this outfit and look, it's not very present, but the anti-aliasing in this game is not always very good. And on top of that, you also have the issue of lower resolution clothing, like Hien's outfit, which has some just painfully low resolutions. Really excited for those updates. But yeah, that's the difference between. I also love they sort of gave flavor to combat text to some of the duty support NPCs, like the Lala Thaumaturge yells out thunder all meepishly, but in the later dungeons yells them out confidently. I haven't done them yet, so that's super exciting. That's gonna be great. Yeah, and you can work out your kinks in your class. Yeah. In hindsight, all writing can be better, and while I definitely nitpick and perform the rare rant, Final Fantasy XIV has a wonderful world and interesting dynamic. Hats off to Yoshi P and his team. Yeah, I mean, with most stuff lately, Ishikawa, but like obviously there's many other writers and to the localization team. But yeah, Realm Reborn is not, especially is not super their strongest writing because they have to build. And yeah, that's the simple thing, right? In hindsight, all writing can be better. But for me, it's good enough. Now, I will point out, it wasn't good enough for me when I first started playing. So only is it good enough, is like some of that now good enough when I have an attachment to the world, I understand the world, a connection to these people, these places. So if you don't have those as well, then I totally understand why it can be a little bit grating. Hey, Issa, glad to have you in chat. Hope you're feeling better. I know you were a little under the weather. My axe may swing well, but a white flag for all the good it did. Hope you fare better on the sorry bastard in there. The sorry bastard in there are done for. How canon is it that we're the silent type? I know we talk on occasion about we're kind of the strong silent type, but we do talk. We're not a mute. We basically are, I would just describe us as maybe a little bit closer to I wouldn't even say laconic, because when we talk, seems to be very conversational. But we're just more likely to be reserved up until we have a point. You can also choose to play your Warrior of Light as kind of sassy with some of your options. So it a little bit depends on your personalization, but if we just take all the examples of people, of dialogue options, then yeah. I don't engage because I'm contrary. Okay, Red. The way I see Warrior of Light is like if Bear Grylls were also a famous military commit. I haven't drunk my own pee yet. Severin might have got us in this mess, but I ain't about to let him give us his life for us. I'd sooner blow to a fishback than be conniving bastard debt to his arms. I'd sooner bow. Oh my god. In 7.0, do you guys think the poster job will be caster DPS and other previous jobs or the expansion's new job? I have stated as such that I do personally think that the 7.0 job is going to be a caster. I think it's their time. And it would also go in line with thinking it might be a geomancer. A true knave. You betray even yourself, Severin. We were prepared to overlook the matter of your desertion on the condition that you provided us with suitable replacements. That was the agreement. Oh, it's the same guy. I just thought. Yet your last change of heart leaves your debt as unpaid. Few are they who betray the Serpent Reavers twice. You will not do so a third time. I wonder if they're tempered. I have to assume so. Because most of the Serpent Reavers should be. Cowering behind your protector will only delay the inevitable. Honorless wretch, your life is all you have left. And worthless though it be, we shall take it. And there's the Black Mask. O mournful voice of creation, send unto me a creature of the abyss, my thrall to command, that I may smite mine enemies. It's golem time. Kind of like Vash the Stampede and Trigun. He's famous, but not a lot of people know how he looks like. Yeah, I mean, think about it. If you don't have the internet, and you don't have a rapid way to communicate a bunch of different images, there's not a lot of reason to assume people know what it is unless people are, drawing pictures of you and sharing them around. Which, as far as we know, is not necessarily super common. Unfortunately, as a PS5 player, I can't use G-Shade. Sorry, Supersides. Yeah, I'm hopeful that the image updates that are coming with the lighting changes and the graphic changes will do a lot to mitigate people needing to use G-Shade. I don't know that it'll help my problem personally with saturation, but beyond that, I think it'll be a super big boom. The man is no ordinary adventurer. I should probably do something a little... I'm going to do deep for this, but I'm going to do more like hissy for the other Black Masks. So the news, there is now looking for group role. Nice. Still feeling like 8-day-old milk, but meh. Okay, I hope you continue resting and feel better, Issa. Sigh. The snake slithered away. I don't know what. I'm only glad he didn't have the chance to sink his fangs more deeply into you. Echo time. Yes, we now have a looking for group roles. So if you are looking for people for your group, you need some help for something, feel free to do that in the Discord. I regularly on Tuesdays will ask people if they want to do Agalea, so if anybody's into that. Those pirates do not belong to any of the known limits and factions. Whom do they serve? The beast tribes? Surely not. But the timing of their appearance coincides all too neatly with the recent surge in Sahagin and Kobold activity. Something is afoot. The question is what? Oh, hello, Deadpool. Could it be that the tribes are planning to summon their primals? Thank you. I was just brought food. 12 help us. If he should prove so, Limsa would be hard-pressed to keep a single primal at bay, let alone two. But all is as yet speculation. I must needs find evidence. The seas continue to rise, while the lesser moon continues to fall. And ilm by ilm, the world becomes ever more unlike itself. It is as Louisoix foretold. The coming of chaos has rendered the laws of nature mutable, blurring the boundary between the material and ethereal planes. Little now stands between us and the primals. This is an important note for any of you that have done the Mist of the Realm questline. That ends up being an important keynote. So it's one of the things I love in this game is you think something comes out of nowhere, but if you go back and look, there's actually a bunch of references to it prior. But they are not here yet. Though time be against us, hope shall ever be on our side. Never did the creed of Charlian ring more true. Let's see, did she do it too? Never did I dream that I would possess the means to see Aether. Yet now that I do, I begin to take it for granted. How swiftly do the wonders of Charlian seem commonplace. That's not foreshadowing at all. Oh, this is the image from A Realm Reborn trailer. Here for you. Have you come for the festivities? Today, the Maelstrom officially makes the Great Hole in the Sea its training ground. Join in the celebrations. Oh, I guess all of their flashbacks are, because the flashback for Thancred is also him praying. So that makes Wait, a disturbance in the etheric flow. But whence does it emanate? Sing-Song Grotto, perhaps? Is there any ARR voice you prefer over a current run? No. No. Okay. What have we here? Can you walk? 'Tis I. Regrettably no. He eluded me. Understood. I will inform the Commodore. You collapsed from your exertions. Are you suitably recovered? Severin has appraised me of all that transpired. His account shed some light upon how you came to be attacked by the golem, of all things. A golem is a mindless automaton, inert save when he commanded to be otherwise. Common pirates could not hope to control such things, so arcane are its workings. But then, these tattooed wretches are no common pirates. They are the minions of the Sahagin. As to their purpose, well, I shall get to the bottom of it. But first, I must escort Severin back to his place of employment. I dare say Stalewern will be wondering what has become of him. And you too, for that matter. I will bear word to him of your preservation, but I am certain he would like to thank you in person. Pray, pay the man a visit. Ah, he told me of you, but perchance he didn't tell you of me. My name is Y'shtola. I'm a naturalist of sorts, surveying the Aether in the hope that it might offer up some clue as to our predicament. I'd say I owed you my life, but that didn't cover it. If it weren't for you, my friends would be dead and all. 'Tis a debt I can't repay, but I'll not make things worse by running away. Take me to Summerford Farms and I'll face the consequences. There's a repeating motif of pirates rebelling and being body and then learning and becoming more via their leaders. You know, like what happens in 5.4. For reasons I cannot fathom, you seem... forgive me. Mayhap will shall have a chance to speak again when I have marshaled my thoughts. So the familiar, right, so like right there, right? She says she's getting at that you seem familiar, which allows you to rationalize that your character, even if you're not a 1.0 legacy character, could also still have been the 2.0, the 1.0 character. You have room to wiggle that if you want to personally not think that way, but in my mind, you are absolutely that. Oh my god, you all are chatty today, which is awesome, but but surprising. Yeah, going back to AR, I like it a lot more because I have context for all the references and lore drops. Yeah, that does a lot. So for voices, this is I like better because I love Americ's voice, but the Americ's voice from A Realm Reborn, that was only around for a brief period of time, is, although maybe it doesn't change, but either way, the voice actor that it was during A Realm Reborn, and if it doesn't change, someone let me know, was the same voice actor as the Hawkwood from Dark Souls 3, whose voice always stood out in my mind. So when I first heard it, I was like, wait a second, I know that voice. So that is, but yeah, I love, unfailingly, there is, I don't think, a single voice in the Heavensward On voices that I do not like. And there are very few that I do not love. So I personally am a huge fan. Like, the voice acting in this game, Heavensward On, is some of my favorite voice acting of all time, bar none, yeah. Why is it that some of these pirates wear masks like the Dread Pirate Roberts? Reminds me a lot of Princess Bride quotes. I mean, it's quite possible that that's the inspiration from the team. You know, it could be keeping the sun out of their eyes. It could be a lot of, like, maybe it's just cultural. Also, as you wish. I always feel horrible when I have to fight the Tempered. A lot of these people are innocent folks kidnapped and forced under the thrall of the Primals. Yeah, it goes along with if you've done the Summoner's quests. That, I think, really touches really well on that. And it's difficult, right? To say nothing of later stories. Early on, there's only no choice. You can either leave them be as a shell of themselves, potentially hurting and killing others, or getting them in situations where they're tempered, or you can mercy kill them. Because keeping them corralled for long periods of time is just not feasible, especially with how many are. So for a long time, tempering was truly a terrible, terrible thing with no real solution. Have you been to a bonding ceremony and imagine the Moogle giving the Mogwai speech? People would love that. I've been to one. My close friends, Ray and Sai, they got married very early on in playing this. That would be really funny. Best girl Stola. I like Y'shtola a lot. Don't get me wrong. One of my favorite characters in all Final Fantasy XIV and in a lot of games. She is not one of my favorite Scions, personally. Ping just went out. Thank you, Lisa. Eden, keep in mind, oh, Jesus Christ, there's a lot. Let's speedrun these. Eden, keep in mind, among the Tempered, not all are strictly speaking good people. Yeah, that's true, AC, but I think but you wouldn't even necessarily know. And the thing is that the tragedy of being tempered is such that people still can't even necessarily be held to account for their actions. Also, like, think about what happened to Merlwyb's father. But, true point. If you have an NVIDIA graphics card and can't use G-Shade, NVIDIA has their own filters. If you have I have NVIDIA and I use G-Shade. Unless you're saying if you have an NVIDIA graphics card. Yeah. Oh, if you have one and can't use G-Shade. I see what you're saying. True enough, we've always come across several willing fools. Glad we usually deal with them quickly. Aura supremacy has arrived. I love going down rabbit holes, and this game has a lot of them. This game fucking is an ant colony of the rabbit holes. You get the point of that, I'm assuming. I don't really like the fact that you stole a weapon as a twig. Yeah, it conjures one. She's a healer early on. I prefer the original Merlwyb. I love the new Merlwyb. I also love her because she's an actress in some shows I watch. Like, she was in an episode of Doctor Who. But I know other people who prefer the original Merlwyb as well, so I think you're not alone, Ren. The one thing that is very jarring going back to AR stuff is the old voice actors, especially after hearing how amazing almost all the current voice actors are. Yeah, there's a couple that are okay, like the Y'shtola voice actors are okay, but most of them are... I think the Thancred's okay, the Nanamo is awful, the Rauban is okay, the Alfino is okay, yeah, I really don't like in Binding Coils, the Alice I think is not good. I wouldn't say objectively not good, I just say I personally think it's really not good. For the AR Hydaelyn and Gaius, I think the AR Hydaelyn is so close to the Endwalker Hydaelyn to me that it works enough. I hate the A Realm Reborn Gaius. I hate the Realm-Reborn Gaius. Not because it's bad, but because, one, I really love the actor for Gaius afterwards that he plays Roose Bolton in Game of Thrones, but the Gaius in A Realm Reborn makes him seem like a maniacal, evil, discount Darth Vader bastard. And the issue is that Gaius is so much more interesting than that, but because of his voice acting in Realm Reborn and some of his writing, he comes across as like just discount, like basic ass bitch Vader villain. And even when he's doing his monologue, there's a lot more going on and a lot more nuance to what he's saying that gets conveyed to you later on as you understand him more. But I think the voice does a lot to make people like zone out and not pay close attention to what he's actually saying. I prefer original Sid. Was weird having his voice in Endwalker after hearing it so many times in Praetorium. Yeah, the original Sid I'm okay with. I think it's about even for me. Jokes on everyone who disliked AR voices. I quickly bailed early on, switched voices to French, never looked back, even though the English VA gets better. Yeah, some people switch. I know a lot of people love JP. I also don't have time for people who are like, JP's the only way. I don't have time for that. There is no the only way. It's whatever works for you. I like Papaluma's AR voice as well. Uriange's too. Uriange's voice is okay. Papaluma's a little bit high-pitched for me. I mean, it works for Lalafell. I play the game in French in the same... Yeah. I like the original voice actor of Uriange. Americ's VA was the same as Sense AR. Okay, cool. So it's always been Hawkwind. For original world, Robon. I love Robon. I love like the sort of like Manchester or whatever. I forget which specific accent it is that all of them have. That all Almegans have. It just works so well. This game has tens of millions of husband has exactly one waifu, Sadu. Yashola is constantly kind of boring and all the way until Endwalker. Nicole, I'm kind of with you a little bit. I wouldn't say boring, but I'm not her biggest fan. Aura Supremacy. Yeah, husbandos. Everyone yelling about husbandos. Tell me for whom do you fight? All I can say is Estinian and done. I really like Alice's current VA. She's amazing. And there's a great interview with her on Popo Jagaimo's channel. You should definitely go check out. That's a wonderful interview. At least we get great memes for our Gaius. That's true. Good memes did come out of that. I also still find it hard to believe Xenos' VA is also voices Sicard. Yeah, right? It's so crazy when some people voice too. Or like how Hori Boulder is also Vritra and Gosetsu. Right? Like fucking crazy. Also, still, fun fact, AR, Uriange, and Endwalker Hydaelyn were both voice actors in Dragon Age 2. Cool. Yeah, if you know any voice actors that for AR or Onward that are have any other roles in other games, you should totally put them in chat. I agree, Regaius, I really feel like I was able to take him more seriously with a new voice. I would say if you almost turn off voices and read closely what he's saying and realize how much it's more tied to his philosophy in a sincere way, and like Gaius is wrong and his ideology is very wrong, but it's so much more interesting and nuanced and sincere than a lot of other characters you meet. We talk about this in End Talkers, me and Naniri. I always swear if my boy American ever opens up his old grand company, I'm jumping ship ASAP. Cindy's the best husbando. Yep, American. Yeah. I want to start a cult for worshipping branches Yashola has touched. Give me them Twix. Sarin, goddammit, you and your Migo love. Although your Migo love didn't seem to last, huh? Very long. You had to get those screenshots. Lo, I knew you'd return. Yashola delivered Severin a bit ago. Tales of your heroic deeds precede you. The rest came shuffling back too. The lot of them sporting the same haunted expression. It's me who's to blame for that, and that ain't the rest. I was once a serpent reaver. A thrall to the Sahagan? Seven hells. Reavers may look and sound and act like pirates, but they're not but the fishbacks flunkies. Us pirates ain't much for laws, but there's nothing we won't do. We got a code, see? But the Reavers never followed a word of it. A few years back, they started snatching law-abiding Leminsons. I only just taken my oath when our captain bent the knee to his new Sahagan masters. I knew I had to get away. So I crept off one night, got myself a new name, and found myself a new home, Summerford Farms. Trouble is, secrets don't stay secret for long round here, and word soon spread, all the way back to the sea. The penalty for desertion is death, but Reavers offered me a way out instead. My freedom for exchange for my mates. The letter. I don't know what I was thinking. Wasn't bloody thinking, too busy soiling myself. Aye, but you got there in the end, didn't you? When the time came, you made the right decision. The men say little to me, but I hear them talk of how you stood up to the Reavers at the last, and how you tried to give your life to save theirs. That is another constant theme in Final Fantasy XIV that I'm such a fan of. The idea of grace. The idea of trying to see people at their best and trying to offer them chances and compassion. Be that as it may, no need deal, however good, can atone for the crime of betraying your brethren. I know that I do, and that's why I'm going to hand myself over to the Yellow Jackets. Bring shame to the farm no more. You'll hear no arguments from me. Each of my men must sail according to his own moral compass. I just hope yours guides you back here someday. There will always be a place for you at Summerford Farms, lad. And I'll always be in your debt, Stalewern. Okay, you know what? While I'm answering chat, I'm going to eat first a little bit, because otherwise I'm never going to get this food in my mouth. Okay. To be fair, Severin, I love your passion, and I only call you out because I adore it. But at the same time, it is. Do what you do. You stole his voice actor in Dragon Age Inquisition, Xeno, Sadu, Raha, Hien, Ancient Grandpa, Justinian. Okay, hear me out. Aura females with Tamamo headbands. I owe you a debt too, Elio. Not once have you let me down. Thank you for saving the men of my farm. If I could ask you one more favor of you would be this. Tell Baderon what's happened from start to finish. I'm certain he put in a good word for Severin if he knew the whole story. And he's one of the few people I know who the Yellow Jackets will listen to. Well, I'd reckon I'd ask all I can possibly ask of you. Safe travels, son. Okay, let's go to Baderon. Anyone know what level... I could search it, but I can't pause right now. Anyone know what level you get Tomahawk from Marauders? Level 15 quest, I assume? One of the little things I love in the game is how gutter we go in the X-Pack, people get better. People get better close. I don't fully follow JT, but I think I'm in agreement in theory with what you're saying. But I also love the push and pull, right? The idea that offering grace and kindness and compassion is of value and is important and it is fundamental and is worthwhile. And also it can still be betrayed. And also there can be losses from it. And sometimes also there's people that no matter how much you give your hand out to them, it won't change them. It won't change their mind. You know, you see that, I think most starkly, the biggest example is with Fandaniel. But also understanding why is so important. Bloody hell's life of the farm ain't quite how I pictured it. Oh, but you needn't worry yourself over young Severin. The Yellow Jackets as in out of the pudgment is a good mate of mine. And if I ask him nice, I'd reckon I'd be willing to commute the lad's sentence for England to Keelholland. Kindly get gent, that is. Ah, I'll only jest with you. I'll see that he's treated fair. Now, it sounds to me like you're doing everything old sailworm asks ye, and more justifying me generous finder's fee in the process. Much obliged, lad. As for your reward, well, she's a lonely lady, this drowning wench of mine. I'd be facing to keeping her company for a spell, with free roam and board. Venturing a trying a business after all. Then as don't rest in their bones every now and again tend to end up with broken ones. And take it from me, fighting ain't nearly so much fun when you're nursing a shattered arm. Got that? Good. There'll always be free bed for you, so make use of it. In rooms now available. Not that you'll have much time for lying around, what with all the leaves you'll be doing. Oh, didn't I mention I'd put your name down for leaves? Our guild draws all manners of clients offering all manners of old jobs. Honestly, you'll be amazed how folks will pay you to avoid doing an honest day labor. Just give Tomokri a shout whenever you feel like making a few extra gil. She'll always have some task for you to do. Guild leaves now available. Oh, and it's all above board, in case you're wondering. We're careful to stay on the Admiral's right side, unlike some pirates I could mention. I'll tell you, if it turns out that they had aught to do with them kidnappers, there'll be 7 hells to pay. A proper bleeding reckoning. Mayhap that's with limps and needs, though. On rough seas, sometimes you have to rock the boat to right it. That's funny. Now I understand. In 5.4, the cutscene between Sicard and Merlib is called On Rough Seas. But we'll have time for such talk when you have well rested. Till then, enjoy the wench's hospitality. Super Swiper, check that you're doing ability. Thank you, Swiper. Yeah, I went ahead and did some, last night I unlocked all the Aethrytes after stream, and I let's just go ahead and do Marauders. And I leveled a little bit just so that I wouldn't have to worry about leveling in case. Actually, I can explain, but we can talk about the crunching, munching ASMR we're getting on the stream tonight. Thanks for letting me know. I'll make sure not to eat into mic. What's the best way to mute, actually? Usually I have a mute button. You know your character looks like you. All you need is the ears. Thanks! I will take that as a compliment. Yeah, you know, I've actually been debating creating, like, sewing his like, outfit and, like, making a full version of that. Maybe getting ears, maybe not, and making an earring, my Hydaelyn earring, which is, like, a thing that I always use. And then wearing that to, like, FanFest or something. That could be fun. I see you didn't unlock glamour, though. Nope, we're not doing any glamour. We're wearing whatever we're wearing. That's how we're doing it. We're looking like a dumbass the entire time. The other thing, though, I will say, though, when we get job gear, we'll wear the job gear that's for what we're doing. So we'll wear the Warriors gear once we get that throughout the rest of ARR. We'll wear the Dragoon gear. Yeah, okay. Yeah. That's how we're going to do it. I made him self-conscious. Thanks for calling me out on my Fanta addiction. I'm laughing now because you say Fanta addiction, and I'm thinking now the orange soda rather than Fantasious. That is neato. Little dye helps to match. Yep, dye does help. Elio, I've gathered what information I could. Elio, I've gathered what information I could concerning the beast that young Cigar bade you slay. The tales name the creature the Kuchata. Those who have witnessed Kuchata and that terrifying flesh hell call him the Stampeding Mountain. Such is his immense size and bulk. Again, I will not seek to dissuade you from claiming vengeance for the boy's parents. In fact, I encourage it, as well as eating cookies. But to topple his lumbering colossus, you must first become his equal in strength and ferocity. A single step towards that distant goal. I send you to blind iron mines. We have had word that folk are falling prey to the claws of the local galgos. It is your task to protect the weak, and for these unruly creatures, learn to channel the rage inside you, and let your axe spade sing in righteous slaughter. Let me get my singles out for the sub. We ain't doing no glamour. You know what? I can make it worse. Come on. Now I'm poofy. Look at that. Look at that. Strike a pose. Strike a pose. Wait. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Wicked Destruction. Ah. There's never any good way to get around the upper parts of Lower Noscea, which is very odd to me. Like, some of the Aethryte placement is just weird in A Realm Reborn. I have to at least eat the fries because I hate cold fries. Stunning, right? Right, Ren? The poof is real. I don't know why, that just made me think of like a race like the Aura or Mikote but cheap. That'd actually be pretty cool. Like ram's horns, you know. What would you do for the females? You gotta have some characteristic. Maybe they're have like the fluff, and the males have like the horns, something like that. And done. Cool. Now I can stop worrying about that. Is this level 15 quest? No, it's still level 10. Does Marauder go up to... It doesn't go up to 30. Or does it go up to 30? It's been so long since I've played any of the classes. I unlocked all of them during my time in Realm Reborn, so it's almost 4 years at this point. Now I'm hungry. Sorry, Severin. That's what you get for calling me out for calling you out. Who is my favorite current Scion? Fuck. For me, currently, and I think it's really important, like, I think it's a different question to ask who's your favorite Scion in each expansion. Like, otherwise, I think I care too much about the context, right? My favorite Scion currently is either Graha or Estinian. Probably Graha, but I really love Estinian, and I really love his stories, and I really love the way in which his experience in life and his narrative arc is going. And the way in which his suffering and his life experience... I ran all this way just for that? Jesus crap. Yeah. Some of the AR quests are just also not placed and paced well. But, like, I really adore Estinian. I really adore his story. And I really adore Graha's story. And I also really love their personalities currently. They have great hysterical moments. They have incredibly passionate and powerful moments. And I think... of the Scions, the two that I relate the most to by far are Eorzean and Graha. Like, Eorzean is... I wouldn't describe Eorzean as my... I might describe Eorzean as my favorite in a way. And I did, but, like, Eorzean is different for me because I really connect and understand him, and a lot of the ways he feels and reacts and actions he takes are things that I relate to and not just would forgive him, but think in a very similar manner. And also, his emotional moments are also so powerful and so good, and often more often than not, more quiet. For all of those of you who have played A Realm Reborn to Endwalker, I mean, that Endwalker scene, you know, is... I'm not gonna say my favorite scene in Endwalker because, come on, you know, Endwalker has a trillion great scenes, but yeah, that's my trio really. Yes, 30. Okay, thanks, Ren. It does. Classes upgrade after 30. Yeah, I know classes upgrade to 30 after job quests, but I just didn't know if, like, the job quests went all the way to them. I had forgotten that. Welcome back, Elio. Your actions have saved many from needless injury and anguish. But though your efforts are to be commended, there is much work to be done. Kuchitaha, the object of your vengeance, has trampled the farmer's wagon as he thundered through the lands of Tiller's Rest. The foodstuffs failed from the overturned wain and have attracted all manner of hungry prisoners. Without produce for the market, the farmers will surely suffer for a coin this season. Your duty is thus clear. Put down these rapacious scavengers and preserve the cargo. It's gonna take me right back to Laurel Noscea, isn't it? Oh, thank God it's middle. Me too, he's super awesome. I love how he looks at my character, it's so real. That's the other thing, I really adore the relationship between Graha and not just I don't mean the relationship between him, the warrior, like, but his relationship between having a symbol that he believed in and also getting to be part and parcel of that symbol's adventure. And his fanboying over us is more interesting than just a two-dimensional, like, it's played for jokes often, but it's more than just that, and it's meaningful. Also, I think upon this of the Scions, he's by far the biased as hell character. And I love that. Well, I'm calling you out for calling me out because you called me out for calling you out for calling me out. Wait, what? I'm calling you in. Keep chatting. I relate most to Alice. Is that just because she's a red mage, Issa? Although, I can also understand that, but is that just because she's a red mage? Estinian has grown so much more as a person. He's so wonderful. Like, that's the thing, right? Is Estinian my favorite? And I guess he's technically not a Scion up until the latter part of 5.x. But Estinian is... The point at which Estinian really started to become my favorite is his speech in towards the end of 5.x, which I won't recount for anyone who doesn't know it, but... about the way in which he is someone who's a realist and slightly a cynical person, and that is who he is. And yet how we put truth to word and inspire him and even give him someone like him hope, without needing to necessarily change being a realist. That is how he sees the world, but he can hope because of us. And just that, and his relationship with the dragon, and the fact that he has his arc, right, is just so good. Estinia and Graha are great. They don't compare to Stola, though, in my opinion. I'm just biased towards Cat Girls. I mean, that's fine. A lot of people are with you, right? Like, I think probably the majority of the fan base, their favorite person is Stola. Stola is one of my... I don't want to say least favorite, because that's not right. That's not what I mean. Of the Scions, she is of the lower part, because I have a lot of love for the nuance of Alice. I have a lot of love for Alfino. I have, you know... The thing is that for the Scions as of Endwalker, she's probably my lowest ranked. That's different in different expansions, but and it's not because she's not compelling. It's not because she's not sassy as all hell. It's not that she's not interesting. It's just for the things that appeal to me, she is my personal lowest. Yeah. And there's a lot about Thancred I really, that it's really compelling to me. And I know Thancred's also, you know, a lot of people are not, I don't know a lot of people, but it's not unusual for people to be like, Thancred, whatever. Yeah, he's cool, fine. But I find his story really compelling. Imagine Tataru not being your favorite Scion. Well, okay, I'm talking about the combat Scions too, right? Like, going in the field. Tataru's up there. Okay, here's the thing. I love Tataru. And she's amazing and hilarious. But she doesn't have a narrative arc in the same way, and she cares for us. She's great. But in terms of, like, the stories and narratives that, like, are compelling to me, that's, like, a different ranking than... And so, like, to put her in that is unfair. It's almost like I wouldn't write, even though I would consider Kryl a Scion, I wouldn't necessarily rate Kryl in there yet because Kryl hasn't had a chance up until Endwalker, really, to shine, to be a member of, like, the longer form narratives. We only get really check-ins with Tataru, you know? And so, it's hard. I find it harder to rank them. We are going to the guild. Imagine Raha is my... Oh, sorry. I'm not saying Graha is my favorite character, but I would eat my own arm just to take him on another walk around the city. I'm in support of this. I mean, not the eating of your arm, but more the I would add to as well. I really adore Graha. No, not all. I think everyone talks far too much and needs to just go smash some stuff like 80% of the time. That's... Yeah, okay, you know what? That does track with everything I know for you, Issa. Yeah. I really like Thancred. Kind of a shame some people tend to put him aside. I think one thing that a lot of people, that happens, I have noticed this happen repeatedly. People play through the story, and I think a lot of people miss a lot of context and nuance because there's so much to take in, or because they're not noticing certain aspects of certain characters. And so some characters I've seen people describe as two-dimensional that's just wildly false, and I don't think it's because they're of ill intent or just like being like super dismissive. I think it's because people don't always look to all the details being proffered and all of what's being offered. My favorite is Raha. Yeah, Raha's awesome. Hi all. Hey Power, glad you could join us. Once again, your capacity for carnage has been tested and proven. The creature you defeated, however, were merely some of the many base scavengers that subsist on the scraps left in the wake of the Kujata. To face Kujata yourself, you require far more training, but do not despair, Elio. As Ackmaster and fellow Marauder, this I swear. I will not rest until I have taught you how to wring every last ounce of power from your weapon, until the blade of your axe can slice cleanly through the thickest hide, the most knotted muscle, the densest bone, the greatest cookie. This menace will fall by your hand. You may find yourself drawn to explore the possibilities offered by other disciplines and the guilds. These distractions are inevitable, and perhaps necessary. But I urge you to return to the path of the Marauder. I do not wish your edge to dull, as just you begin to show such potential. Fare you well. I'm also not bothered getting armor because at this point level, my weapon is going to be the vast majority of my stats anyways. And it just doesn't matter, we're killing everything. I see you've been diligent in your training. You need not tell me in words. It shows in your bearing, in your unwavering gaze. It is time for you once more to lift your axe in service to the guild. There has been reports of a sizable creature roaming the outskirts of Aelport in western Noscea. This monster is no Kujita, but the threat is present to the locals. It is nonetheless sufficient to warrant our attention. Like cookies, it should also prove a worthy foe to test your burgeoning powers. How to find this beast? Well, I am fortunate to count among my acquaintances a veteran hunter and archer by the name of Rinfried. He took up residence in Aelport some years ago, and this will gladly aid you in this task. With Renfried's assistance, you are to track down this prowling danger and provide it with swift and bloody passage to the afterlife. May your axe swing true. Let's teleport there, and we will read chat. Thancred's whole arc has been incredible, but he was kind of understated in Endwalker. Largely absent in Stormblood and literally absent in the main Heavensward. Heck, half of his stuff in Shadowbringers was in Raid Story. Yeah, for me though, like, arc is less about the amount of time. So while he's not super present during bits and pieces, like his arc from, and when we get in a lot of, a lot of what's important, a lot of the most important stuff is all in the majority of Shadowbringers in terms of like, what's that? But what I point to, like, in terms of quiet moments, right? In Endwalker, there is the night as black as pitch moment where he's talking about... There's a scene where you see Estinian, Eorzean, and Thancred all giving their perspectives on hope and why we fight. And they are all in agreement and yet all have different views on the lens of hope and the lens of all that. And I think there's a lot that's done with Thancred throughout. And especially if you've played the end of Endwalker, you know of the Scions certain things for the final map. Phaser, Tataru, Alice, and Amaric. Well, we're talking about Scions though, so power. So Amaric isn't really a Scion. I love Alice. She's sassy and useful. Alfino though, meh. He's grown on me, but I still had a bit of a grudge over how he treated us when we first met us, and glad to see his growth. You know what's so funny? I never minded that. Like, it's annoying, but like I always was like, okay, he's young, he's gonna like grow and become better, and especially by 2.55 and what he goes through, especially as he grows through Heavensward, he's actually one of my favorites. With Alice, I love. You especially get to see this with Gabu, but like the maternal stuff. I adore a lot of sides of Alice. I relate the most to Estinian, Alice, Eorzean, and Thancred. That's always what my criteria is for liking characters the most, for ranking. Not that I dislike the other Scions, I love them all. Totally with you, Genesis. I'll just switch Alice for Graha. That's like, otherwise, basically you copy paste that for me. Just remembered a couple of the VA casts are in the last story, the Wii game. Thank you, AC. My favorite 14 character in general is Emmett Selk. I adore Emmett Selk, and I understand why he's a lot of people's favorite. But that's also like a whole different conversation. Really like Alfino too. Can we get Ellie to voice act in the next expansion? Because I would do Prey more often with this kind of voice up. Thanks, Sarin. Estinian's VA is also Brock Van Zeek in Ace Attorney. Holy shit, it is. Imagine Estinian saying objection with a glass of wine in hand. I think Cookie Monster Guildmaster is my favorite. Oh, Super Swide, thank you. Thank you yet again. Thank you for your repeated. To anyone and all of you who have put a super chat of any kind, one, thank you so much because the money is genuinely helpful, but also thank you so much because I genuinely never thought people would, to be honest, and it's really greatly appreciated and allows me to put more stuff into the Eorzean archives. Greatly appreciated. Estinian, a man who once would have exterminated all dragonkind, became a man who not only understands and emphasizes with them, but willing to risk his life for one of the first brood. You know, Estinian. A man who once would have exterminated all dragonkind became a man who not only understands and empathizes with them, but willing to risk his life for one of the first brood, and drive him on to hope. I am fortunately to grab groceries now. Glad I was able to catch the stream. Have a good night. Thanks, Eglinton. Glad to have you. So hopefully see you next time. All right, I have to go to stuff now. I will have the stream on in the background. Awesome. Thanks, Phantom. Hopefully see you around, and if not, thank you for having it up. Dude, your content is amazing. You're worth it. Thank you, D. It's hard for me to think that. I'm confident. I love the work I do, and I feel good about it, but you always put stuff out there not knowing whether or not people are going to enjoy it, appreciate it, or react. And yeah, I mean, that's just the reality, right? And you know, the other thing about comments, too, on YouTube, right, is we've been so lucky. Our comments are most of the time are awesome, really well-meaning, positive, corrections that are either well-meaning, well-spirited, or like, you know, fair. But you know, it only takes one negative thing to cancel out all of that. And I thought I had been watching too many VTubers while sick. Love you, Elliot. Thanks, Issa. Yeah. I'm really proud of it, Archives. I'm really thankful for Isidoro and Naniri, and I'm really thankful for all you guys. So thank you. Looking forward to this entire streaming adventure, as well as the videos to come. One of the Wurmzone boys, are ye? I've known the Sprat since he was knee-high to a... Well, he was always kind of a big fella, was Wurmzone. And now they call him an axe master, eh? Not a subtle lot, you marauders. So I suppose you were here to hunt down our local trouble. What you need to do then is take yourself northwest upward toward Camp Skull Valley. What a name, Camp Skull Valley. And give a good whistle. The mean bugger you're after, his name's Parpatan, and by will come running across the weed plains. He'll think you're trespassing on his territory, see? So you better have the cleaver of yours ready. Oshan's blessing be upon ye. I'm trying to think, I haven't had any notes for lore yet that weren't present in the last one. I'm surprised. I had a lot of notes from when I was doing Ul'dah. There were a lot of little details that were super cool, despite having already played the Ul'dah intro. At the end of it, we are a fan of you. Thank you, JT. I appreciate it. And it's also lovely to have all of you on the Discord. Like, I try to chat whenever I can. Trying to do this and other work, other real world work, and stuff means that I'm not always on Discord as much as I'd like to be. But especially when I get to see you guys all talking with each other, and driving each other's conversation, and inspiring each other to talk about lore, that is just wonderful. Even when we respectively disagree, right, or have different takes, which is normal. Like, that's the thing, is there's a lot of things that you can interpret about the lore, which is why it's good, interesting and good lore. And what matters is not always necessarily coming to consensus. I mean, consensus can be helpful and it's nice, but it's much more about us being able to not just respectfully disagree, but learn something from each other in that conversation, right? Even if it's just someone has an argument that you think is wrong because of multiple reasons. By having to listen to their argument, you have to better understand your own. You have to better understand why you think and what you think and why you believe what you believe. And you can also acknowledge the places where they may have a point. If I did not find I would still be searching for lore for this game. I have to be honest, I did not find anything or anyone I could connect with until a rabbit hole found your... Awesome, D. I'm so glad it worked for you. Honestly, the big reason I made started the YouTube side of the Eorzean Archives was because Issa, Doral, and Naniri had a website and were doing stuff beforehand. And I just happened to find them by happenstance because a friend found them on Reddit. It's a whole funny story, but I wanted to make a YouTube channel because other than like Ethis, right? There wasn't really any lore YouTube channels, at least at the point I was starting for 14. And, you know, if you're a fan of Dark Souls, right, you've got your Vadis, your, you know, Silvermonts, like all sorts of people. And I thought we needed more of that for 14, and it seems like a lot of people agreed. The nice part is, you know, 6 months after starting it, the whole Endwalker huge thing blew up, and then a bunch of people started joining. Very into the lore, so love your streams. Awesome, Tracy. I'm glad. Had you been in contact with Reemfried, and he had not to praise for you, Elio, your representation of the guild has been exemplary. There is one more task I would have you complete this day. A task that will demonstrate for you just how strong you have become. Report to Skafgim. Where he waits on the bank of the Ageless River, and he shall help you unveil the untapped power of your axe. Oh, I think we're getting it. Fucking, I'm walking from the farms. Issa, Daddy is coming back from the store with his cigarettes, he promised. Oh, Issa, you're such a fucking troll. Issa and Severin, you too. Rip Ethis, hope he's doing well. I super hope he's doing well. He seems to be doing well, at least last I heard from him. Or not heard from him, heard of him. Which hopefully that maintains. Yeah, I think Brian and Chris from Work to Game for me finding you guys. Oh, that's great. Those guys are awesome. Their channels, Work to Game, Ginger Prime, and Gaming Kind Of. You should all definitely check those out. They don't just do Final Fantasy stuff, but they do a lot of Final Fantasy news and talking about current events. They're super wonderful, and I was super lucky that they had me on any of their channels at all. And hopefully we are going to work something out, potentially be on them again in the near future. And I attribute one of like our first growth spurts really to being allowed to have an interview with them, and it was a wonderful time. So I can't thank those guys enough. I remember I had made Eorzean Archives. I think I commented on one of the videos because I liked their stuff. I was a fan. And then I woke up the next day, and Brian had called out the channel in one of his videos. And we were at like 600 or 500 subscribers at the time. And we hopped up like 100 or 200 subscribers over the next 2 or 3 days from that. And one, that I can't thank them enough for that. But two, I cannot describe what it's like to have someone you're a fan of shout you out like that. It's a very surreal feeling. You're used to being a listener, a viewer, or at least I don't watch a lot of streams, so I'm used to passively viewing and listening. But it was cool. It was really cool of them, and I'm very thankful. I'm also thankful for Sindonic Scribe, who has showed up in the chat. Great guy. He has a fantastic lore channel. And to Popo Jagaimo, who had me on for an interview. Definitely go to check out his content. I don't think I'm missing... Eorzean Archons. We had them on for an interview. You should definitely go check out their stuff. They mainly have been doing synopsises lately, and they just did the synopsis for Manderville, as well as they've done, I think, the Omega quests, and I know I'm missing a couple others. I think Eden. I might be missing a couple others, but those two are also awesome. Aye, lad, I know why you're here. And after seeing the big old boulder, I'd wager you know why you're here, too. Now, my rock's been a bit more challenging than those pebbles. Rock game had you training on to crack the beauty. To crack the beauty will require a relatively heavy swing. Impossible, you say? Ha! Wordzo would send you out here if you didn't think you're capable. I'm gonna crack that motherfucker. That's a nice boulder. Be a shame if something happened to it. Ha! Would you look at that? And your first attempt to. Well, I guess it's back to the Axemaster for you. Like, this is the ARR problem, I think, is that the amount of, like, back and forth you have to do is still rough. Like, as much as they've tried to abbreviate stuff, like, they got a lot better at putting quests in places that were more, spacing them in such a way that you weren't doing this back and forth quite as much, and also making them more reasonable. Not that they were perfect. There was also a lot more to learn and interesting things to get out of them, in my mind. Anyone know if Ethis will ever come back? Possibly. My understanding is not likely, but possibly. But I have a very limited window, so someone else who may know more can tell you. Hey, if being trolly gets me on the same level as Serene, I'm cool with that. Yep, Serene's a cool person. Tracy, look forward to that. Awesome. Chad, this rock disintegrates. That interview with you and Stout on his channel was pretty great. Oh, yes! Thank you, Chad Thorson. I knew I was forgetting someone. I had an interview with Chad Thorson on his channel, who's awesome. You guys should definitely check out his stuff. And I had an interview with Stout Helm, who also does great Final Fantasy XIV stuff and is all-around cool dude. Hopefully we'll do stuff with them in the future. The nice thing is all the Final Fantasy XIV YouTubers, a lot of us are doing, like, one, we do different topics, so it covers a large swath, but also we just have all different styles, so that is also super beneficial. Thanks, Issa, for pointing that out. I knew you would return before long. The deafening crack of shattering boulders reached me even here. The feat of strength requires recognition, and you shall have it from the new technique, adopted and perfected by our guild's forebearers. The Tomahawk throw was first devised by the pirates as an opening attack on closing enemy vessels. So you're just carrying a bunch of, like, little Tomahawks? Though we primarily focus on close quarter combats, you will no doubt find that you have powerful ranged strike at your disposal, greatly expands your tactical versatility, especially now that it doesn't break your combo. I sense that the impending confrontation with Kujita weighs heavily on your mind, Elio. But hurried swings lead to glancing blows. There is no swift road to attaining the peak of mastery you seek. Only a steady measured ascent and cookies. I don't have pants. Ooh, let's get some Sabatons. Let's get some puffy jackets and Sabatons. One thing that's sad is this like thing where you get a new ability or level up. When you have like a job stone and you see your job symbol. I have not yet found a way to replay that cutscene, that mini cutscene, which sucks because it'd be really great for footage. So the only time you can really do it is when you first complete this. Actually, you could probably New Game Plus your job quest, and that would be the best way. But that'd be such a pain in the ass to go through the entire thing just to get the footage. Although I guess we could get footage of those shots in us with the proper equipment and then put it on our NAS server, couldn't we, Isa? So we wouldn't have to do it multiple times. Did I forget to... Oh, I haven't... Time to go back to... We're not leveled yet, so we gotta go to... I get to Bateron. Follow all of you. Awesome, awesome, Tracy. Honestly, I love Stout and Scribe's work so much. I'm honestly appreciative sometimes that people come check ours out because I feel like, you know, sometimes ours can be a little more. Sometimes it can be a little more dry. Obviously, I've been trying to switch it up with some of the shorts and, like, for instance, this week's video, which clearly has done well because it's more, you know, 15 minutes, more energy, all that jazz. But, yeah, I'm so thankful for that we have a community of content creators at this point. Too many fetch quests, but I'm glad it got better for Sprouts. Yeah, Eden, the fact that it's gotten better is great. I think it could still stand to be a little bit better. I'm just here to represent the cat girls and Lizzie ladies, EU minority. It's hard to work, but it's honest work. Honestly, we have quite a few EU people, and that's one of the reasons I'm really excited for people to be able to transfer across physical servers, because I know people we have in Oceania, EU. I don't think we have anyone. Oh no, we have 2 people in JP. And to be able to have everyone be present for community nights and be able to do more stuff with that, like trials and all that jazz, I just think that's going to be great. At the very least, I'm excited for the transfer service that's coming up in 6.1.8. 6.1.8. Oi, Elia, how do you fare, Elia? Rusted and ready to expand your horizons. Well then, I've had an idea where you might be heading next. Have you heard of the old skylift on the middle of Noscea? Well, if you ever visited Wood Whisper Canyon, then you must have been up and down that thing at least once. It's the big bleeding scaffolding attached to the descent. You've likely seen the lads and lasses out there using it to haul cargo up the cliff and face. Hard labor that, and earlier they could use Enterprise and Soul to pick up the odd jobs. What no other bugger at the time to deal with. Track down the head of operations bloke by the name of Weirkert, and it'll be able to be sure to put your work on task or two. Not dry, professional. Yep. Put a lot of work to make it feel and seem professional and well crafted. You can play New Game Plus, you know. Yeah, it's more of a problem of, and I know this is, I already commented on this, but getting footage if you have to do it multiple times takes time. So the thing is, you have to play New Game Plus for a job, right? Right? I need a shot from the Darknet. This is one shot. The shot is 3 seconds long. Each video could be 15 minutes long, 30 minutes long, sometimes an hour long. It might take me 15 minutes to speed through the entire Dark Knight quest to get that 1 3-second shot. Well, I just spent 15 minutes of my day in order to get that, and I don't have free time every day to work just on the videos. So I have to be really careful about what I spend time with in gathering shots, which is why I'm really thankful that Isa has helped me out by we've created a server where we're uploading footage to archive there for like every cutscene in the game and a bunch of job quests and stuff like that. Although we might have to redo it after the graphics update, which I'm not super looking forward to, but on the bright side, the fact that we have this archival footage means that we can show a version of what the game looked like, you know, years down the line, if anyone cares. I mean, that said, it would still have my G shade over it, so I guess it's not exactly what the game would look like. Forgot to describe. I'm EU. Yep, Ray's EU. I have a lot of EU players on my NA server. Yep, that's not uncommon. I'm on Malboro and have friends from before we moved to Crystal when DC Travel was announced, like 5 people. I hadn't heard from in years and DM'd the news to me. That's awesome, Nicole. Yeah, the amount that like cross-server stuff just for, you know, on the same shard has done wonders. I'm so excited for when it's more wider. Me too, and it's a pain. Yeah. Aaron, yes I do. And also G-Shade is allowed by Final Fantasy XIV and Yoshi P. So if anyone is paying attention to current controversies, do not worry. But yeah, this is what it would look like without. So the main thing I do is saturation, shadows, and a little bit of anti-aliasing is the main thing. Professional, not professional. I am playing and reading a lot of things, Issa. It's hard to keep track of every word. But also, you know what? It is professional. We make money. Just ask chat. Chat is paid for stuff. We make money from it. Ergo, it's professional. Talking of being EU, it's time for me to hit the hay. Aw, sorry, Tracy. Glad to have you. I hope you have a great night and see you next time. Yeah, gonna have to make up the current 1B old 2.x photo. Yeah. Nice. Your setting looks really good. Awesome, Aaron. Yeah, someone else asked about our shaders today. If you join our Discord, I have it pinned in our general if you use G-Shade and would like to just use our shaders as a preset. The one thing for it is that one of the things I often use for filming is I'll use cinematic depth of field. You have to turn that on, but you have to do that manually and to set up your shots. So if you care about that, that's just one piece of info. But yeah, it should just work out of the box. Bateron sent you, did he? Sent you out here, did he? Then consider yourself welcome at the Skylift. Look at that bloody cliff, will ya? One blast of fiery hell from the huge dragon was all it took to split the ground in half. Cargo still needs to get through, though, so this mess of wood and pulleys was our solution to the problem. Well, one of them, at least. If gods were kind, and they ain't, I'd have about a dozen more workers to handle me growing list of headaches. Glad I came to see you again, lad. A wagon driver just returned in a great bloody hurry, screaming about some monstrosity what sprang out from Millicorn, seedling in his cargo. Seems the gutless bastard tossed it over the side afore he turnin', tail and runnin' for his life. I need ye to head down the road, recover that seedling, and deliver it to Luff over in Swift Perch in western Noscea. Whatever he pays you for the cargo is yours to keep. After all, I don't rightly know what else is lurking inside the plant, and you deserve to be rewarded for your troubles. Oh, and you'll also find an Aethryte in Swift Perch, so the journey should be worth your while. Actually, that means we can... Oh, actually, no. Also, thanks, Aaron, for the compliment. Good night, Tracy. Night all. Aaron, perfect. I joined the Discord today. Awesome. Yes. It should be pinned in the general chat. All you should have to do is download it, put it in your G-Shade preset files, and you should be able to select it from the drop-down at the top of your G-Shade. Nicole, professional. Thank you, Nicole. I really appreciate it. I really, really appreciate it. And I will put that money to good use. Yeah, I'm definitely... First thing is going to be, let's get a camera that's not like 720p. I guess technically it's 1080p and 30 FPS. It's actually nice. After that, I would like to get a SBM7, forgetting the exact name, microphone, just because its quality is a little bit better, but that's not a huge need. And then after that, I think what I might need to do is, because I don't make a lot of money, so I might need to save money to do that. We can make sure that I can travel to FanFest or get tickets for FanFest, so we can record that, and maybe, hopefully, I'm hoping one day that we'll get big enough that we can do an interview with Yoshi P or Koji or Kate or just anyone on staff. That would be, that's the dream. Like my primary goal right now is getting to a point where our channel is big enough and does enough that we could conceivably get an interview from during like one of the FanFests or the media tour, especially during the media tour. Speaking of the Discord, if you enjoy the stream and you aren't already a member of our Discord, why not join us? Ray, you're awesome. Can we get like a clapping or shouting out or like a thanking of Ray, because we didn't have a moderator for a while and I had to do all this stuff and I didn't do a great job, and I also like didn't always keep perfect track of everything, and my life has just been so much easier. So thank you, Ray. I appreciate it. Same for this EU dweller. Sadly, I came to bed 45 minutes ago and got stuck on stream. Sleepy time. Also, Bard Lore when? Ellie's cutie pie. Bard Lore, I want to do jobs soon. I now have a new format down because I've figured out how I want to do them. So I want to do all the jobs hopefully soon. It's going to depend on the amount of free time I have, but I don't have a set date for you. But I know the next one's probably either Red Mage or Dark Knight, and I'll make Bard soon after that, I think is the plan. Has Nymea herself forsaken this desolate land? Though I understood there were risks in gambling my entire fortune on a crop of million corn, I at least expected a seedling to be delivered before disaster struck. I really love this. So they pointed this out last time and it was news to me, but I hadn't realized just how much the calamity had desolated the soil of Noscea. That is, and it's a recurring thing that we get information on. This strain of million corn has been bred over generations to grow in even the rockiest soil. Is that my million cord seedling? Oh, joyous day. It may seem a paltry beginning, but the yield of this particular variety of crop plant is nothing short of astonishing. As you have undoubtedly noticed, Swift Perch lacks a certain, shall we say, vital energy. Thus, I mean to restore a modicum of hope to its residents by growing a veritable ocean of corn. You, sir, seem fit to burst with vim and vigor. Might I persuade you to abide a while and help nurture this ailing settlement? And the other thing is, like, once we get to the further end, there's going to be more audio. Like, there's going to be more audio dialogue. Just imagine me and Koji in a room. Issa. Good, everyone. Yeah, Red Mage is great. Yes, and Issa is a Red Mage devotee, obsessive, whatever term you want to use. Yes. Thank you, Ray Ray. It's so hard to find a good glam for Red Mage outside the artifact gear. Yeah. Yeah. At least you have access to, like, the caster sets compared to, like, a lot of the tank sets are hard to mix and match. You there, adventurer, cast your eyes towards the brewer's beacon. Does light not seem uncommonly weak? It cannot possibly be bright enough to guide the ship sailing in the bay. I would march over to the lighthouse and investigate myself, but I am duty bound to remain at my post. I would consider it a favor if you could make a visit to Brewer's Beacon and see it aught has befallen Conswiss, the lighthouse keeper. Actually, I should look up the lore on Brewer's Beacon. The fact that it's named Brewer's Beacon makes me wonder if there's a region nearby or in or around it where people brew alcohol. Because I know Chris was on the stream yesterday, talking about that. Oh, right, it's to the left, not the right. I know so much more about the geography and, like, specific details of Ul'dah and even Gridania more than I do about Noscea. I know, actually, like, I know the geography, I know the places, but I don't know a bunch of their lore. I should go reread or read maybe even some of that tonight. I mean, the wedding gear is nice. True. Fighting despair, glammed in the hope of a wedding veil and a chocobo sword. Oh man, dude, the lore. Okay, actually, just 1 second. The lore on that chocobo sword is sad as fuck. I mean, half of all of the weapons, and especially the Red Mage weapons, are sad as fuck. It is Chicken Knife, an unfortunate name for a weapon with an unfortunate history. It is believed the first chicken knife was wielded by a cowardly thief who would purposefully let fall a child's doll to the cobbles and then stabbed his victim in the back while they stooped to collect the item. Why the blade has seen a recent resurgence in popularity amongst red mages is unknown. Yeah, like fucking, and like, or the, like, that mini video I made on Verdun. In a time when man began turning their backs on their former allies, the dragon, one knight stood to defend his worm companion against a mob of bloodthirsty priests. While successful in fending off the attackers, the knight eventually succumbed to his wound and passed in the embrace of the one he swore to defend. To honor the sacrifice, the dragon breathed a white-hot flame over his friend, transforming the body's remaining aether into a crimson jewel, which he then affixed to the knight's blade. Everywhere got devastated. Kurthus was just hit the hardest. Yeah, because Kurthus got hit the hardest because of its ethereal currents being shifted. Although the ethereal currents of other places, like Western Thalin, the currents of that region got shifted so much that despite being at the Strait of Merlthor, which is like a very bountiful place, the fishing is now awful there. All the other places did get affected in terms of their etheric currents as well. But yeah, Kurthus was a drastic and dramatic shift. We've got stuff like, Pharos, we've got, we've got the Salt Strand way over there, so. Such devastation indeed. You sailing the Yellow Jacket sent here? Me light's growing dim, has it? Well, of course it bloody has. The bomb what fuels it furnace had up and buggered off, you see. If I don't get that beacon fixed up soon, there'll be troubles on the water. I know you're just the messenger, lad, but I can tell an adventurer when I see one. I'm going to need you to chase down the bomb and bring back a claw what you ripped from its smoldering corpse. Take this here iron brazier and set her down in the middle of the flock, somewhere near the scarecrow, I'd say. You get your nice fire going, and that frisky bomb soon be out and about. Watch you don't singe your eyebrows, lad. Everywhere got to say. Did the spectral thief use a move called the chicken knife in Hero's Gauntlet? Did it? Holy shit! I've done the Hero's Gauntlet like twice. One of the times was at launch, so it's not one of the dungeons that I've super familiar with because I was doing a lot of Shadowbringer stuff more starting at 5.4 on. So the Hero's Gauntlet was one of the last times that I was like in any way behind on story. AC, that's really cool if you notice that. You should totally, we should do either I'll do the Hero's Gauntlet after this or later, but let me actually just write that in my lore in the notes because that's super cool if so. Spectral thief, chicken knife. Okay. From FF5, right? Best weapon in the game. FF5 is one of the few. I haven't played FF5 in 20 years, so I could tell you very little about whether it is or is not in FF5. But I will take your word for it. Actually, one of the things I want to do someday is sit down and replay every single Final Fantasy. Maybe after I finish the MSQ stream or whatever, however we do this, I'll do a playthrough of every Final Fantasy game because that actually, in my mind, is still very much lore relevant because the amount of things that are tied to, inspired to, or give implications or understandings for things by understanding past games is really interesting and really great. So like, for instance, the ways in which the Crystal Tower is used from Final Fantasy III, as well as Eternal Winds from Final Fantasy III. You know, or 12, and the way in which that it helps inform and understand a lot of things about what goes on in the Evil East raids, you know. And didn't Merlweb's Chocobo meet an unfortunate fate in, Victory, and in one of their short stories? Yes. Victory, Merlweb's Chocobo, sadly. At the Battle of Cartnow. Also, Aleport, anyone? Yes, it was. It was the knives on the edge of the arena, combos with the dash. Nice. What classification were bombs again? It's been a while, so I forgot. They are Void Sense of the... Which rung are they? Oh, no, that's not EE2. Let's just check this real quick, because remember, part of the point of all this is lore. Okay, you're going to be way at the back. You're going to be on page, like, 200, what, like, 90? Honestly, it's literally a knowledge base in and of itself to just know where everything's located in encyclopedias, Eorzeas. Occupy the 11th rung. We'll just go ahead and read this since we're here. The barely contained sphere of volatile gas and flame occupies the 11th rung of the Void Sense hierarchy of 12. Bombs must replenish their internal reserves of fuel in order to survive, and are drawn to consume any source of oil or fat that they encounter, be it plant, animal, or man. Grenades, and even more explosive species of bombs, are a place higher in the hierarchy, standing upon the 10th rung. With the Pixel remasters, no less. Yeah, Altier. I've never played in other FF games. Hard to justify between work and, well, XIV. Well, Nicole, maybe this will be... Maybe streaming them would be helpful then. Especially, actually, to anyone it would be helpful for, let me know, and I can make that more of a priority at some point. At least with the Pixel remasters of 1 and 6. Honestly, seeing as my favorite's 10, there's no way I don't get to at least 10. And we should do 12 because it's important. So, really, there's no way I don't just do all of them at that point. And also, most... I'm gonna be honest. 1, 2, 3, and kind of 5... I don't have a huge amount of love for. Not because they're bad, just I don't remember them a ton, but also just don't. 4, I like because it was my first 2D Final Fantasy, but like even that's like, you know, okay. And 6, you know, is stepping forward in terms of story, but 1 through 6, none of those are my favorites. They basically pull a lot of story beats, ideas, and concepts from previous Final Fantasy games into Final Fantasy world lore and story, and it's awesome for longtime fans to pick up on. It super is, and it's super awesome because it's more of an echo or a rhyme, because they take the idea and then change and repurpose it and maneuver into what works. So it's not just this thing plopped and placed most of the time. Aleport, Brewer's Beacon, Ale. Yeah, we were talking about that yesterday, Supersides. We were talking about how Aleport, Wineport, and all those, and the way in which they tie to brewers and brewery. But yeah, Aleport and Brewer's Beacon. Bombs are void sent, yet can be recreated in a forge. That's curious. Yeah, AC, I've been wondering that, as well as they are literally grown. They're like farmed by the kobolds, which is interesting. All you need to do is take down a runaway bomb and bring me one of its little claws. Ah, you got the ashy bastard, did you? Once I put this little firecracker in the furnace, that should keep this thing running for a while. I had myself a bit of a look while he was gone, and Linlane cursed me. If the furnace weren't all but bent and broken, small wonder the bloody blonde was able to escape. I patched things up the best I could, but I ain't no smithy. You might want to have a chat with the Yellow Jacket's friend of yours in Swiftperch, and have him pass the word back to someone in Limsa. Actually, are they recreated in a forge? I know that they're like farmed and grown through breeding. I know they're drawn to forges because they need sources of fire and flame to continue existing. But are they actually brought forth from them? And I mean, think about it in theory. There's no reason that the Void Send couldn't, in certain Void Sends couldn't procreate. They're just astrally aligned creatures. So, you know, or some form of self-division. So if you brought one forth from the void, then all it takes is one to start creating more and more and more. You were asking right now, weren't you? Oh, well, yeah, I'm curious about the specific lore, like, if we check out Encyclopedia Eorzean Volume 1. There's a specific... Here. If you go to... Why don't we just pull it up now? Okay, we're in Western Noscea. Ale ports. Unlike water, ale will not go stagnant on long sea voyages. Thus, many ships put into this the second harbor on Vilbrand to fill their holds with the stuff. Subsequently, Aleport does a goodly trade in grog and trade encouraged by low taxes on various brews. Less well known, however, is that this is the stratagem specifically designed to prevent large vessels from clogging the port of Limsa Lominsa. Smart. But what about Brewer's Beacon? Brewer's Beacon. This relatively new lighthouse was built soon after the Calamity claimed Swiftperch Tower to ensure safe passage from the trade vessels carrying shipments of dark stout and blonde barley wines out of Aleport. In addition, the Candlekeeps also maintain watch for increasingly frequent rogue tidal waves caused by stirrings of the Lord of the Whirl. Okay. So yeah, it doesn't specifically have something to do with brewing, but just that it guides those ships that there's no like brewery around it or anything. It just guides the ships that carry alcohol. The furnace is damaged, is it? Very well. I shall write up the relevant reports, but these repairs must needs be effected without delay. It seems I have another favor to ask you, adventurer. Take yourself straight away into the Armorers Guild in Limsa Lominsa and explain the situation to Forge Master Hananza. Ooh, yeah, we get to go do that. We get to go to the smithy. Bombs seem to act as a pseudo-mechanical in some way, like explosive drones. Yeah, they're not very smart, but I mean, like, most things on the 11th and 12th rung are often, like, described as basically vacant in terms of, like, they're just acting out of instinct. They don't really have any real sentience, seemingly. this isn't a direct correlation, but the higher you go on the rungs of Void Scent, the more there's a correlation with like sentience, awareness, ability to plan, and machinations. You look to things like Skaha or Diablos or Ferdinand, or even Succubi, who are like all like pretty relatively high up and seem to have like more awareness and control. Ale and the like is also made with boiled or clean water, so also less likely for it to go stagnant. Yeah. Definitely better than drinking seawater. Hananza! The furnace and brewer's beacons needs repairs. Baragot's beard, I just sent someone out to tinker with it not a week past. Mayhap the bond Conswiss had trapped in there was a touch too volatile? I'll have an artisan fill the lighthouse and pay special attention to reinforcing the casing of that furnace. Your work is done here, adventurer. May the navigator guide you on your journeys. Like, this, right? This is a great example. Okay, I guess because there's another quest, but like imagine retooling this so that you don't have to go to the smithy. Although I also understand it's good to like introduce you to them. And also gets you possibly thinking about crafting. What say you taking on some work from Naldic and V-Mills? We're great hulking warships to build and couldn't certainly use an extra hand for any number of tasks. For your first job, I need you to run to missive or to Oprim, the head shipwright of the Drydocks. For your first job, we forge most of the ship's bits and pieces here at the Armorers Guild, but the actual construction takes place at the docks found in the south of Lower Noscea. That's also where you'll find the main offices in Naldic and V-Mills. The Drydocks is one of Limsa most important districts, at least as far as I'm concerned. And I'm not sure you'll regret attuning yourself to the area's Aethryte. Ah, that's why they wanted to attune to all the Aethrytes. If you're no confidence in your sense of direction, you're best served making use of the Chocobo Porter, first floor of the mizzenmast in case you were wondering. Should you choose to make the trek on your own 2 feet, leave the city through the Tempest Gate and follow the road south. May the navigator guide your steps. However, I have already claimed this Aethryte. One of the other things I've really enjoyed about making the videos is I get to spend a lot of time with the music. And so songs that I might not have listened to a bunch before become way more familiar. And that familiarity breeds like a closer connection and attachment to places and locales when I go there. Like I don't spend a lot of time in Noscea, and sometimes I'll often, because I want to listen to podcasts or watch YouTube, I will have my music off. But even though I don't spend a lot of time here or listen to the song much, because I've done videos on like the Rogadin or stuff like that, this theme actually does bring an emotion out of me. You have a missive for me from Forge Master Hananza. I assume it pertains to the pending arrival of the materials I ordered over on Moon Past. Let's see it then. Important message entrusted by number. Oh! This new ship that's being created, is named after Merlwyb's Chocobo, who passed at the Battle of Cartnau. That's so touching and sad. Blast and Botheration. Blast and Botheration. Another delay. I'm well aware of the shortage of skilled artisans, but this is insufferable. My apologies. The messenger does not deserve to bear the brunt of my frustration. Might I have your name? Elio, is it? Well, Elio, the proud maiden you seek taken shape before you is the Victory, the first naval vessel to grace the docks since the Calamity. We may have lost the bulk of our ships that fateful day, but starting with this beauty, we will restore the Maelstorm's fleet to its former glory. The Victory is more than a simple warship. It is the symbol of Limsa rebirth from the wreckage wrought by the coming of the Seventh Umbral Era. Thus, we are striving to complete her construction as swiftly as possible, even going so far as to hire veteran shipwrights from outside the Thalocracy. Yet even such unprecedented measures there are never enough hands to handle abundance of tasks. Should you choose to linger at the docks for a time, there is no end of odd jobs for a hard-working adventurer. Be you fair warned, there is no place here for layabouts and troublemakers. I also like that the theme playing right now has the 1.0 Noscea theme. Yeah, I mean the leitmotif. Yep, Huge fucking fan of leitmotifs. You know, like Lord of the Rings, one of my favorite soundtracks, not just because it's good as shit, but also because it uses leitmotifs so fucking effectively. I specifically mentioned 1 to 6 early because of the insane amount of stuff they borrowed from the first 6 games. They borrowed Triple Triad from 8 and the names of Ascians from 12. Well, no, I mean, there's like the Evolution raids. So like that's very much 12. There's Eden, which is 8. There's quite a few things from 10 that are scattered around, even if not primary plot points. There's a lot of 4 stuff that is relevant to Endwalker, as well as what is probably going to be our trial series is 4 villains that have to do with number 4, as well as a certain other villain that has to do with number 4. So that's 4. That's with you. That's still a classic one though. 7 doesn't have a ton. 8, 9. 9 has a ton in like mock, and it's a lot of stuff around that. So I wouldn't necessarily discount that 9 is important. 11, I mean, that'd be hard to stream and play because there's just so much to do. 13 doesn't have a lot, other than some imagery. There is at least one piece of imagery that I think is really interesting in parallel. 14, well, we're playing that now. And 15, I mean, it has like the side quest, and I don't really think anything else. As a warrior, would you like using an axe or a warhammer? Depends, am I fighting people with or without armor? If I'm fighting people with armor, warhammer. If I'm fighting people without hammer, axe. Where in the 7 hells is that man? Not once in the 12 moons has he been late with a shipment, and now 2 whole returns of the sun without a single word. A shipwright of mine, a young man named Frilsmid, recently left Candlekeep Quay to retrieve several crates of supplies ordered from Limsa Laminsa, but is yet to return. I have several misses to Halbroda, but his replies are always the same. He does not recall ever seeing the rights nor the supplies he was scheduled to collect. That man knows something, and I severely doubt he is telling me the whole truth. As I cannot leave my post, I would ask you to travel to Candlekeep Quay in my stead and inform Halbroda that if he insists on playing these games, I will personally see that he is transferred to Turtleback Island, where he can rot alone in the middle of the sea for eternity. I need to write down a note. I actually don't know where Turtleback Island is. The whole concept of using people to fuel primals encased in stone, as we've seen inside the Telophroi Tower, is akin to the faith. Yeah, I was avoiding saying that somewhat because of spoilers. You're fine, Atelier. But yes, there is a lot of 10. There's a lot of 10 present in Endwalker. There's a lot in 4 and 10 in Endwalker. Not least of which is the return of, yeah. I think Chris brings it up in his gaming lore kind of map video. Yeah. Good. I think did I miss that? I'm subscribed. How did I miss that video? God, this is why YouTube can be frustrating. There's a guy who I love, and yet I can somehow miss his video despite checking my subscription feed every day. You know. Okay, I actually have a fun question for you guys for future planning. If I do low-pitched voices for certain Lalafell, which 3 to 5 Lalafell should I do them for? Because I want you guys to pitch me who is the funniest or most fitting to have a deep voice. I did smash the bell. Maybe I didn't. Actually, no, I may not have been gaming, kind of. I should definitely go do that. Speaking of which, if you want to make sure that you see all the videos that come out from us, not only should you like and subscribe and comment, which I'm thankful for all of your comments currently, but you should definitely click on the bell notification. I know like every fucking YouTuber says it, but it really does help. It does a lot. We can see the percentile differences for the people who do click on it and people who don't, and who returns and who doesn't. So if you'd like to be notified whenever a new episode comes out, we would love it if you did so. Does that self-righteous dog at Brim doubt that I've never told him anything less than the truth? Oh, right, I gotta doubt you. Turtleback Island? He cannot do that, can he? I swear on my poor Nana's grave, Navigator rest her soul. I know not of Frilsmild, nor his precious supplies. Hells, we're here at the quay have enough trouble these past few suns, what with the sinking of the Laminsin cargo ship off the Salt Strand. I have the time to take haven't the time to take a proper piss, let alone make a note of every scrag that wanders in and off the grip. Now, the way I see it, if you have time to be standing here questioning my character... Oh, difficulty ranked unlock. Here, question my character, then you most certainly have the time to get your ass of yours down to the Salt Strand and help us search the survivors of the wreck. Who knows? You may just run across Furlsmid, and everyone seems so eager to find. Here's hoping the Navigator hasn't found him first. Dude, the Limb Lane fight for Mist of the Realm is going to be fascinating. Yep, Yojimbo is X. Are there other summons? The Shiva in this is original, but kind of... I mean, no, it's not. It's always humanoid Shiva, so it's pretty similar. The Ifrit. The Ifrit's very similar. Though, again, Ifrit is usually not too different, but, like, sometimes the Ifrit's humanoid. There's no Garuda in 10. Oh! The imagery associated with... there's a lot of aspects of Bahamut from 10 that is connected to Shinryu. That's one thing. Like, you'll notice all the colors are identical and the patterning is very similar. Yu Yu Hase, Tataru. Okay. Shamani, Loman, Lamit, Lomani. All I know of Limlane is she commands wind and uses a harpoon. Should be interesting indeed. Yeah. It's definitely going to be aquatic themed. I'm First Milled. You say the foreman's wandering on me whereabouts. I thought he might be, but you must know, I cannot show me face at the Drydocks until I've righted the terrible wrong I've caused. 2 nights passed. I made the trip from the Drydocks to Candlekeep Quay, just as the foreman asked. The seas were right rough, and the captain of the cargo ship was wary of bringing her too close to the cliffs, so I paid a few coins to fishers to take me out to meet her. By the time we was halfway, twixt shore and the ship, the swells had risen nigh on 10 yalms. 'Twasn't long afore the waves had hold of us. Try as we might to steady the boat, nature's grip was too tight, and we was flung headlong into the lamenting galley. When I awoke, both ships were gone, and the cargo I was to collect lay strewn across the Salt Strand. I was made every effort to salvage it, but the sands are crawling with Kakern, and I ain't one with a sword. And now you see why it is I cannot return to the Drydocks. Okay, let's get the ship. Yida deep voice until the review. Definitely 2 different voices. Yeah, like in Hiding Lore. Yeah. I'm down for that. I think that's a good idea. Deep voice every character until they're voiced otherwise. Rend your larynx. Yes, Nicole, thank you so much. That is exactly what I want to do. The thing is, when I'll get to a Lullafell and hug like this, it's gonna be relatively funny, although I don't know how long I can maintain it. Just do this for Nanamo. That'd be pretty funny. I swear a Limlane raid fight better have a sea shanty alongside. Oh, fuck yeah! Atelier, yes! Oh my god, wait, okay. I have to look at something then. I have to look at 2 things really quick that I want to look at, speaking of Limlane fight. I need to look at... It will take 5 seconds. Okay, if we assume the order holds for the next 4 bosses... The next 4 bosses... No, Limlane would be the 11th. Should be the 11th we fight, and the Ascian would be the 12th if the order holds. That's what... So no, we wouldn't have Limlane next... We won't have Limlane for possibly 8 more months, which is sad. Or I guess more like 6 months at this point. But the other thing I wanted to look at was the Heaven of Wind, because the description... The Hell and Heaven of Wind. In the Heaven of Wind rises a towering mountain range atop which Ascian looks out upon an endless sea ruled by Limlane. Here rest explorers and adventurers, mountain climbers, saints, and those who rescued the aforementioned souls from peril. The thing I'd point to right about the heavens is that so far as we've seen, they've been pretty... Well, not quite literally, pretty closely to literally represented. So I would assume that we're going to see the place would be like an endless ocean and mountains. I see exclamation points, though I'm not sure why. A good shanty song I've heard recently is Sleeping in the Cold Below from Warframe. So I know good modern shanties exist. Don't think Soken will disappoint. Hasn't before. And frankly, I don't think ever will, because the worst we're going to get from Soken is a plateau rather than an elevation with songs. Or Kakern. What's a good sea sand sheet that I know? I know sea shanties. I don't know why I can't think of any of them. Most of the ones I just think are of, like, Celtic drinking songs. Frilsmead. That night, I was tossed into the sea that some dolls and rags weren't long around the world. Around me faded black as I slipped deeper into the abyss. But lo, the navigator wouldn't see me to the gates of the seven hells, and I woke to find myself washed ashore. And I'm sure and here I've been ever since, waiting for a chance to salvage me master's cargo. Here's your shit. Anything interesting? Not really. Mostly just that's for the... Oh, whoops. The missing parts? I don't know how I can repay you. I'll deliver supplies right away, but I first must stop by the quay so that I might pay me respects to the widow of the brave fisher who gave his life for a handful of coin. Could ye tell at Brim that I'll be back to the Drydocks by daybreak? Many thanks, adventurer. I will not forget this kindness. A good shanty. Yeah, I have to go, but good stream. Thanks, Power. Always glad to have you around. So hopefully see you next time. What should we expect from Hydaelyn's theme, or will we not? Well, if we have to assume that if we assume the order's holding, right, like I was talking about, then Hydaelyn is the second to last boss. And if she's the second to last boss, what if we assume that the music stylings for what happened with the first Mists of the Realm holds, then I think it's going to be one song motif that gets progressively more and more and more as it goes along, because that's what happened up until we got to the lyrics for Naldal, really. So I don't know that if the what is it next is Earth and Ice. I don't know if that the Earth and Ice theme won't just be actually one progressive theme as well. But what her theme should be, I would look to basically all the music of Ishgard's or not necessarily just the music of Ishgard, but the instruments of Ishgard. And with Minfina's Stone there too, I wouldn't be surprised if you should look to the instruments of Ishgard as well. Because you have Ulthik and Nafka, and those you could think to look to Gridania or any other forest region. Have you seen the story of the Dragon's Soul Ultimate? It's probably something I will never attempt, but I've seen the story of it, and it's really cool. Yes, I have seen it. I was holding off usually until I got to do it, but I just won't have time for a while, so I went ahead and watched it. And yeah, very, very fascinating and very, very perfect for like the whole idea of how they use the bards and all of that. And I love all the little lore touches in it. There's a shit ton of lore touches in it, and a bunch of them are also lore touches that have to do with mechanics. Like, do you think Thaliak do you expect Thaliak to look too similar to a statue in Old Charlian? I would, because the statues that we know of, whenever we see a representation of a figure, at least, okay, the one time we've seen a representation of figure so far with Rhalgr, it was pretty close to what we see with Rhalgr. So I would say it's going to look close, not identical, but I would use that as a groundwork for what it would likely look like. Never underestimate the ancient art that is fan fiction. It's crafty, crazy side stories in a good way. I'm a mixed bag on fan fiction. I love that people make fan fiction, and I'm not usually a huge user or proponent of it for myself. But my problem is when people take fan fiction, use it, then create headcanon from it, and then treat headcanon as canon. That's my problem. I am relieved to hear that both Frismill, like I've had art conversations with people where that's happened, and it's just like, it doesn't matter if you literally have evidence in your point. Like, they're like, this is true to me, so it's true. Frilsmead and the supplies are unharmed, though it was foolish for them to believe that they would blame him for that, which was obviously out of hand. You see, there was no storm that day, and the seas here adjacent to the Drydocks were as calm as the slumbering child. This leads me to believe that the trouble the ships encountered off the Cradle Keep Quay was less of a natural sort, the sort which the Sahagan have been known to conjure. Elio, while I was originally had doubts about your motives, you have repeatedly proven yourself an asset to Naldek and females. I still do not like you, but that does not mean I do not trust you. Why? What did I do? Grimthauda, head of the watch here at the Drydocks, believes that the pirates may be plotting an attack on the Victory, and she requires the assistance investigating a group of unsavory individuals making camp nearby. I have recommended you for the task. Despite all Limsa Laminsa endured before and during and following the calamity, the fact that there is still those who won't turn their backs on the city-state, so that those who would turn their back on the city-state, so they might line their pockets with a few handfuls of coin. Just the thought of it sickens me. Organs, lack of organs. Yep. I would also wouldn't be surprised. So there's two possibilities, broad possibilities. I would expect the musical motif for it to be very different from what we got. And I wouldn't even be surprised if it was more of a somber affair or a march, because Althic is the domain of time. So a march is a perfect representation in music for a waltz, or a march are great representations of time in music. And then Minfina and her sorrows are such that I feel like a march, and Halone and battle. I think that the something like that might make sense, but you know, that's just utter conjecture. Grim Thoda. Yes, I had a feeling you would be one of the Ibram sent. Since you first arrived at the Moraby Drydocks, I have had my men watch you. Oh, there's no need to get angry. I make it a point to keep an eye on all those new to the area. It's simply protocol. And you'll be pleased to know that nothing incriminating was found. You appear to be a model citizen. That and the foreman seems to think somewhat highly of you, which I admit is quite shocking. The man does not trust his own mother. Very well then. I assume Atbrim informed you of what your task would entail. The pirates we believe are conspiring to raid the Drydock were last seen making camp near an ancient stone called the Mark of the Spinner. That's the Mark of Noscea, which is going to be over to the left. I would have north left or forward left. I would have approached the men posing as a lost adventurer and see if you cannot somehow learn of their intentions. Kanago, stationed at the rear gates, can provide you with the exact location of the camp. Center step, right there. Thoughts on the Azim sigil? I get a feeling the Scion's Traveler's headgear gives us a clue. E-Machine, do you mean... Yeah, Azim sigil is in like... we're trying to not... in case there's anyone who hasn't finished like some of the Endwalker stuff. I also don't like Azim sigil as a whole. Like, I mean, it's representational of its sun, like a star, because he's the star in which things orbit around. He is, but if we go by the elemental order, ice and earth should be next. Yeah, Minfina is said to be a maid with a skillet. People I would know would love to see a goddess fight with frying pan and maybe a falling moons, and hopefully her hound Dalamud. Though because that Dalamud may have been a later addition. Historically, it's possible that Dalamud doesn't actually exist. The Hound. Elio, I knew it. No more sardines for Kanago tonight. I shall dine on the finest salmons on the peninsula. Why? Well, I had a little wager going with some other guards on who Atbrim would recommend for the next job. My money was on you. The job, yes, of course. If you follow the road past the gates to the southeast, you will eventually come to a barren cape with a single large stone, half buried in the cliff overlooking the sea. Followers of the 12 say it's a holy place dedicated to Noscea, the Spinner. I'd be surprised if the pirates camped up there were aware of that, though. Azim's glyph. Oh, do you mean like the glyph of Azim for his... Well, that's interesting. Do we even necessarily know that Azim would have... that the Convocation members have one? Because we know the Ascians have them. And also for the Scion's Traveler's headgear. The one from Shadowbringers? Or is there a different one? Anyone know offhand? I've given you the count to 9 to step back on the path and carry your venture and arse back down to whatever the rock is you crawled out from under. Yeah, okay, yeah. So we don't necessarily know for sure that the Convocation would have had them. We only know that the Ascians and their roles have them. And even in the art for them, it's described as Ascian glyphs, not like ancient glyph or Convocation glyph. So I would propose, I would propose based on the evidence at hand that Azem would not have had one, and that it is a byproduct of the Ascians and their role post-tempering and or dealing the Sundering. Yeah, we can avoid talking about Endwalker 2 specifically, but those broad pieces of information are relatively available, so I'm okay with those. Thal's balls, which we have faced. Once we have me boy back, I'm putting these godforsaken pistols of an island so far behind me that no one will remember I was ever here. Come on, Scrags, we've knives to sharpen. Yeah, and no need to be sorry. It's a good question. It's a great topic. It's just also, I want to be careful about anything Endwalker related right now. Mist of the Realm is okay. In terms of broad, but like, especially some of the specifics stated, maybe I'm going to avoid. Wonder if there would be some rivalry between Azima and Minfina, since the moon and sun are sort of opposites. They're also sisters. So, probably? I mean, if we look at the... Speaking of, actually, we were talking about this at book club, which we have lore book club for Encyclopedia Eorzea Volume 1 every Friday. So tomorrow. So if you want to join that, go to our Discord. There is an event up at the top left. You just have to sign up for the event, and you can hop into our chat whenever we when we start having it. Ocean, summon forth. That's Nafka. There we go. Okay. Coach from the core of Thaliax, their love to being fast being grandmother was not life. The world lay dormant. He wanted to wearing mountains rather than care. Those winds that loved Limlane, though she longed with Thaliax for Taylor limbs there. Swallowed seed, not me. I know. I'm sure this is incredibly compelling, but the text is so faded. Okay, maybe it's way earlier. Okay, yeah, it's way earlier. That's why. Althic, seeking companionship in the empty realm of his creations, took the young goddess under his wing and cared for her as he would a daughter. As Nymea grew, however, so too their love for one another until it could no longer be contained, culminating in the divine coupling with which resulted in the birth of two holy daughters, Azima the sun and Minfina the moon. And with their advent was the day and night conceived. I would say the 12 are on a relatively decent terms with each other. Yeah, if they're fractious, I mean, if they're in any way, think of them like a big family, assuming all of their connections are hold true. In which case, they have good times and bad times. That's how I'd frame it. In some mythos, the sun and moon are lovers who are tragically separated. Yeah, more than a few. Yeah. So the trespassers are indeed pirates, and they're indeed planning something. What is this talk of getting me boy back? Could it be their target never was the victory? Something is not right. I won't sit idly by waiting for those pirates to make the first move. I shall order increased patrols immediately. Thank you again for your help, Elio. It appears we were wise to put you out and put our trust in you. Grimthoughta, Captain of the Watch. Now, why am I reading that? I'm concerned, Elio. It appears that the pirates had you investigator on the move. They creep ever closer to the Drydocks, so I assume they are mean to target the victory herself. That ship is the symbol of everything Limsa Lominsa strives to become, and will not allow these base scoundrels to lay a single finger upon her hull. We must apprehend them before they put their plans into motion, and you, Elio, are just the man to do it. Without you capable assistance, I fear the scrutiny of the Drydocks cannot be guaranteed. Security of the Drydocks cannot be guaranteed. Not moments ago, my guard submitted reports of suspicious activity in the area. Pray, begin your efforts by listening to one of their accounts firsthand. Does anybody else here pray and just, like, shiver? Like, pray. We're gonna come upon that all too soon. It matters not who you choose to speak with, but I'm sure to question either Erstwurst at the front gate or Kanago at the rear. Any suspect saboteurs you encounter during the course of your investigation are to be interrogated. Report any and all findings directly to me. Hail, adventurer! Glad to have another hand aboard to help shore up security. Gods knows our reports would sit on Grimthoughta's desk gathering dust if it weren't for the assistance of those such as yourself. Speaking of reports, though, I saw one of those mangy pirates lurking around the cliff near Empty Heart. I'd take a closer look before he has a chance to cover his tracks. What exactly would a godless of love do in battle, or what would they test us? Azima is a goddess of inquiry, so under her purview to look into our potential through battle. Yeah, although they're all doing that, I would, based on what we see in Agalea, I would be predisposed to look at their imagery and elements rather than their role. Because while you have stuff with the hammer with Byrogot, you don't have things with smithing. Though you have, you know, destroying things loosely with Ralger, it's more about the comet and lightning. With Azima, it's more about fire and sun. With Naldal, it's much more about, I mean, it's not really about the cowrie shell. It's more about Thal's balls and what he is by nature, as judge with weighing with the scales weighed. I guess no. Okay, with Naldal, it is more about his role. With the other three, I feel like less so, but with Naldal, it is. Bah, spotted me, did you? Well, you're too late. What's happened is already happening. Also, it's a nice clear night. Yeah, it is really beautiful. It's actually storming outside for me, which I'm very thankful for. I'm so happy. I fucking love thunderstorms. Screw this. Ooh, we got an event going on. I was wondering when we find a good stopping point. I mean, we still got a bit to go. So you found me one of those pirates, did you? I knew you were right, adventurer asking for aid. But what could these knaves be planning? What's happening is already happening? Captain, trouble at the shipyard. Easy now, soldier. Who did this to you? Pirates, out of nowhere. Stuck me good. Gods below, we're not prepared for this. The pirates, soldiers, the pirate soldiers, how many do they number? Not sure, more than I could quickly count. Seem to be carrying explosives. Explosives? Then there's no time to lose. Elio, you heard the situation. Make your way to the shipyard and engage these intruders. I will see the man's wounds, then follow after. Make haste now. Actually, now that you mention it about gods, I wonder, does Helone actually watch the trials in Ishgard? Well, we know that the 12 observe. So it's possible. I'm not in a way on likely or unlikely, but I definitely would say it's not, from what we know, it is not impossible. It'd be funny if she referenced our trial in Heavensward. To make clear in terms of what references are, in terms of like what is talking about is okay. Broadly, try to avoid anything specific in 6.0 if able, and try to avoid anything hyper specific about, you know, the major reveals of Shadowbringers. Mostly towards the climax and in the patches. Never reckoned it'd be this easy. Still don't trust those slimy bastards, but their plan worked like a charm. What are you doing, you great bloody fool? Shut your trap, boy. This'll all be over soon. All that's left now is to blow this ugly pile of driftwood into splinters. Why would you do such a thing? Have you any idea how important this ship is? What it represents? Aye, and that's what makes it all the sweeter. Whatever it takes to knock some sense into me treacherous backstabbing son. Imagine a boy of mine giving up the pirate life to become a shipwright, and building a bleeding maelstrom vessel at that. What under Limlane's wide green ocean made you take up with these self-righteous shits? Ooh, actually, that's a good, I'm gonna note that. The note that it's a green ocean rather than, you know, a blue ocean. Because green is associated with wind, but now it also, the fact that her element and color is green could be associated with the fact that her ocean is, in and of itself, treated as green as well. You're the one who's... You're the one with no bloody sense, da. Don't you see? The pirates had their glory days, but that era is over. I wondered what Atbrim never spoke of his father. I never would have thought. This ship's symbol, all right, of everything what went wrong with the world, and I mean to shatter it into 100,000 pieces. Pirate party. Gimthoda, Elio, pray, beat the tar out of this bloated sea slug, and make sure no harm comes to the Victory. Kick some row ass. Duh, this is madness. Madness? This is Noscea! A pirate don't abandon his treasure. As a minor design point, do you think the reason that Nothal's eyes are always closed is Justice is blind? You know, the scales and such? I hadn't thought about it, AC, but I think that's a great observation, and I think that is... I would suspect that's the case. Ooh, they have mammal jaw mercenaries. It's weird playing content for the first time for this game at this point, like in ARR, because I've never played the intro for Noscea. It's just like cool and interesting. It's kind of like a little bit of what it feels like when a new patch comes out. I must be getting old, letting some green venture get the best of me. Duh. That's one big bloody ship. Big and nasty looking. You made that, did ye? That's a really good note to end on. My thanks, Elio. I shudder to think what may have become of the Victory without your intervention. The pirates have made a right mess of things. I'd best get to sorting out the docks. And my thoughts could use some sorting out as well. Ever did my father have a way of turning my life upside down. Pray, convey my thanks and my apologies to Gimthoda. Be cool if we would be some questline focusing on Warrior of Light being haunted by people they have killed and maybe their families even. Would maybe put the player in some weird spot. I think the closest you'll ever get to that is something like Ada and Avere. I think partially because it's not really framed that we've ever been responsible for people's death that were not either given freely or were not just realistically sacrifices that were possible, that we just, some people die, like so I don't know that the Warrior of Light would be tortured and haunted by spirits of the past. There are other characters who I can imagine that for, so that would be a cool story. How fare you, Elio? I can begin to thank you for the role you played in preventing this madness. You defended more than a simple ship. You saved the budding hope of Limsa Laminsa from a violent demise. The day was yours. It seems our security regime will require much in the way of improvement. If we're truly to keep the jobs safe. Atbrim, apologies. Well, I suppose I can understand why he would feel responsible for his father's actions. Of all those involved, this incident was hardest on him. But in time, I believe he will come to a single conclusion. The most fitting way of moving past his anguish is to see the Victory completed, and in the water. By the by, the pirates we defeated have been handed over to the Yellow Jackets. Rainer's men will be taking over the investigation. Before the Yellow Jackets moved in, however, we recovered a most unusual object. Should you have time to spare, I would ask you another favor. Elio, in light of your role in recent events, there are a few others to whom I would entrust this task. Since last we spoke, a curious missive has been discovered amongst the personal effects of Atzapfum. Atzapfin, the pirate behind the plot to sabotage Victory. This missive was penned in the most unusual script, a script we believe to be some manner of code. Needless to say, anything which prove an enemy of Limsa Laminsa deems worthy of deciphering is likely to be of great interest to the Maelstrom. Unfortunately, none among us can make any sense of this message.
In cases such as these, I am told the Yellow Jackets are wont to turn to Baderon and his convenient connections. Thus, I would have you deliver this missive to the proprietor of the Drowning Wench and into his hand and no other. Do you understand? To Baderon. The AoE for Marauders, they changed it from the cone to a circle. Think it would be better for mobs? I think it's shorter range. I know that, like, Chris, right, and some other people are a little frustrated because it's brought more of the tanks more in line. I think it's just contextual, right, and how you have people stacked. The scales of justice or eyes aren't blind. The blindfold was originally added as satire. That may be true, and yet, Ray, in terms of at least America, that is iconography that is held to and believed as and played straight. So while it may be true elsewhere, I would say at least for Americans, the idea that justice is blind is which I am. I'm just speaking for is definitely an ideal and a thing. Atelier, yeah. At first I thought it was a downgrade because I assumed all this time that the cone AoE wasn't as wide, but it gave longer range. But it turns out they all had the same range and length, but not in width. So the fix was welcome after somebody pointed it out. Yeah, okay, good Altier. Warrior's my the tank I play the least regularly, so I didn't have strong opinions on it. AC Gear, the one group I never lost sleep over killing was the Heaven's Ward. I feel nothing for them, tempered or not. Some of them were bad men beforehand. You also get some catharsis around that if you do all the role quests. I will just say that. Make sure to do those, and there's, yeah. And they had to be stopped. I don't think, we're not framed to necessarily feel guilt over that they made their choices and we had to make ours. Now you mention it. Yo, check your DMs here, and is an island map there. Thanks, Issa. Yeah, the Heaven's Ward were a bit of a letdown. I was hoping we get some colorful array of characters in that group, but pretty much the only one that was sort of memorable was Charbert. Yeah, the thing I'd say about the Heaven's Ward, right, though, is that they're sycophants, ideological, like, classical idea of a paladin. So for me, their representation worked, but yeah, I would have liked them to have more. Ahoy there, Elio. I've been hearing about your deeds at the Drydocks. Atbryn laid out the entire tale for me. Poor Sod was still reeling at his old man's part in the business, but at least he kept the victory from being sunk afore she sailed. And for that, I owe you my thanks. You've really made a name for yourself, and Limsa. Folk know that when they need something done... You need something done? Ah, what might that be? You want someone to read a message written in funny letters for you. Gimthoda thought I would know of a man as could. Well, let's see it then. I reckon I might know a canny bugger who can read stuff like this. Ugly sod by the name of Old Baderon. You know, you're like one of me regulars now, Elio. You never let me down. And Navigator helped me. I reckon I can trust you. Gimthoda was right to want this message deciphered. We got us some trouble brewing, no mistake. Get ready for action, and I'll explain. Good Alia aboard, lad. Now then, where to start? Back when I was younger and nastier, I earned me a living as a sellsword in that business. If you wanted to know what your enemy is up to, I had to learn to read your orders. You prize from the cold dead hands of its mates. That's how I came to know how to read your message. Truth be told, the script was only too bloody familiar. Them Sahagan letters, lad, and I should know. I've gutted more fishback messengers than I can count. It gets worse, though. The plan to blow up the victory is all in here, right down to the fine details. Looked like they meant to raise 8 kinds of L in western Noscea. Then it hit the Maelstром's new flagship in the confusion. The point being, the attack on the victory weren't the act of a few rebellious pirates. It was a key part of some canny bastard's grand plan. But if I'm reading this right, and this attack ain't come too much too early, I'll wager they panicked when they saw you was onto them, rushed to do the job and buggered it up. Them tattooed-faced bastards, as they were saying, Atbrym's old man. They're with the Serpent Reavers, right? But none of their crew was there, was they? Did they have something better to do, or what? Hey, Alfino and Ellie's here in the background. 7 L's. I've got it all backwards. The message victory, that was meant to be a bloody distraction. The fishbacks ain't interested in the Maelstrom, baby. They're after men. just like they've always been. They're sending the pirate lackeys after a civilian target. This bit about raising L in western Noscea, that's where it'll be. Summit tells me Swift Perch is about to get it, and it hard. Airs a rough translation of the message. Take it to Commodore Raynor at the Coral Tower and tell him it's for a busy day. Oh, and give him an eh. Give him a hand, eh? Give him an eh. Give him a hand, eh? You can be damn sure he'll need it. Maybe not the Justice Blind thing, but I can't find any plausible explanation for the constant. No, I think the Justice Blind thing is true. I would say that if they're rooting it, like if you. To Ray Ray's point, it's quite possible that if like you're from the UK or England specifically, we'll go just for that, you may not have that feeling and definition. But if they're using any form of American culture as a representation, and American culture has a widespread, foothold, all across the world, especially in Japan, justice being blind would be also a thing that is absolutely a reference point. As for the closed lips, he's a robot, so he doesn't need to speak. You just imagine he has a synthesizer inside him, so he can just push. Naldal was crafted. He's not a organic. They're not an organic thing. Was it not? Oh, that's why. I had to go to the Marauders Guild first. Yes, I'm Raynor. Ah, you must be an adventurer whose name seems to be on everyone's lips. You are to be commended for your part in thwarting the plot to destroy the victory. Now what can I do for you this day? You bear an urgent message for Baderon? Why do I get the feeling that my hopes for a quiet morning are about to be cruelly dashed? Tell me, what is afoot? Chris sent me a labeled island map just for you now. Cool, I'm gonna pop that open then. Okay, so it's the main island of the Cialades. An assault on Swift Perch? But we've... Yeah. Even so, it'd be foolish to discount the possibility. Baderon is rarely wrong about such matters. Even so, it'd be... Oh, no. I will marshal the Yellow Jackets for battle immediately. The only question is where to send them. While I concur with Baderon's assessment that the attack on the Drydocks was intended as a diversion, Swift Perch is but one of several possible targets for the main thrust. Commodore, sir! Report. It's the Sahagin, sir. They mounted a large-scale assault on South Tide Gate and threatened to overwhelm our defenses within the day. The garrison requests immediate reinforcements. By then, Navigator. It seems my decision has been made for me. Muster the troops and give the order to march. Aye, the Serpent Reavers are in league with the Sahagin, which means that there's every chance this assault on Tidegate may yet prove to be another Fent. The fact that remains, however, that we can ill afford to ignore it, and to leave Swift Perch invulnerable to those pirate traders. It's at times like this that I wish such as these that I wish the warriors of light yet walked among us, but wishes will avail us not. Forgeron, you must serve in their absence. Make Swift Perch with all hates, and lend your strength to the squads. I can spare for the settlement's defense. Organic or not, he still has a fantastic creative design. Apparently they can choose to split up whenever they want, but choose not to. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about Nald-Thal. It's Nald and Thal, also Nald-Thal. So, like, they are a dipartite deity. And if you read in Encyclopedia Eorzean Volume 1 their mythology, they were created, they were crafted by Ascian, I believe. Maybe he's a really good ventriloquist. They are ever 1 and 2. They can take either form. And which it makes sense. You're like, oh, they're a dipartite deity. They're both 1 and 2 person. How does that work for an organic being? Well, if it's a robot, it doesn't matter. Because it can just be 1 and 2. Commodore Rayner sent word we'd be getting reinforcements, but I didn't expect him to send you. You certainly look like you've seen your share of action, though. You bear little resemblance to the wide-eyed whelp I met fresh off the ferry. In any case, do you know what you're fighting for here? This place, Swiftperch. It was rebuilt by folk who stood strong in the face of every hardship the calamity threw their way. And we're not about to let some fish-fancying scum claim the honor of being the ones who finally broke their spirits. Don't give those pirate bastards one bloody only, you hear me? Let's kick some ass! Here they come! I've used this shot of the Serpent Reaver so many times. Now, I thought all Yellow Jackets were meant to be busy. This useless crag ain't followed the plan, has he? Now what? Pull back and wait for our Sahagin brothers? Piss on that, we ain't turning back empty-handed. Remember, no killing the small folk or it'll be your blood what stains Lord Leviathan's altars. Okay, so they are tempered. Makes sense. We know that most of them are. The yellow bellies you can butcher at will. Them dirt-eaten slugs will be crushed under the full might of the Serpent Reavers. Seems Swiftperch was the main target after all, eh? Squads 1 and 2, protect the townsfolk. Squad 3, you're our rear guard. The rest of you, we meet their charge where we stand. Let us bear the Commandeur's word of our victory, of no word at all. Furlam Salamansa! Rag, I'll gut all your yellow bellies and dance on your gizzards. One thing I noticed here in one person likens you to the Warrior of Light, and the next thing everyone you meet is referring to as the Warrior of Light, even though they weren't present when it was previously said. I mean, the first time you really get called is when you, and at least with Ul'dah, is when you meet up with Raoban, is when you like first really get started having to call. Let's see when people actually do start calling you Warrior of Light. We'll go off that. Because no one has since that conversation, right? I didn't miss an example. Come on. All dirty. Start shortly after this fight. Thanks, Ray. Thanks for the heads up. It'll be really interesting to point, look closely as it happens. Dweller of the Abyss, your master calls. Heed the words. Is that a bloody void sense? Hold steady, lads. Keep on pummeling him. You can't take much more of this. Well fought. The Reavers are beaten back and scattered. I'll take some men and hunt down the stragglers. Oh, but there may be more of them lurking about, so don't you let your guard down just yet. Ascian time. I know this cutscene by heart, but not with its dialogue, because the source of his strength becomes clear. You may have bested the golem, but you will not fare so well this day. Also, like, the fact that non-convocation members are able to do it makes me think that it is an Ascian-specific thing. To whoever asked the Ascian question earlier. E-Machine. O mournful voice of creation, send on to me the creature of the abyss, my thrall to command, that I may smite mine enemies. Your very being imperils the plan. You cannot be suffered to live. Oh, easy. Soon you shall take your vile gifts to your grave. Whence springs this preternatural might? Rise as the venom eats its way through your veins. A fearsome opponent against whom you shall not stand alone. An unwelcome guest, no matter, all shall fall before me. Oh, I have interject. Good. His power wanes. Afford him no chance to recover. Got him. The wisdom of the paragons should be brought low by mere mortals. Paragons, did he say? Then it is as I feared. They are known as the Bringers of Chaos, or Ascians, to give them their proper name. It would seem our suspicions were correct. It is they who have been manipulating the beast tribes. Pardon? You would know if we Sharlayans have encountered Ascians before. I've never spoken to you of my homeland. How did you know whence I hail? Wait, I do begin to see. You have been blessed with a special gift. I think this is why, right? Like, this dialogue is why it starts to happen. Although, that doesn't mean that doesn't explain word spreading fast, so that's a good point. Are you all right, lad? If I'd known a mean bugger like that was hiding in the bushes, I would have left a squad of 6 to keep you company. Well, at least now we can call this kidnapping investigation to a close. Reavers were the ones spirited folks away in the dead of night, and this bastard here was pulling all the strings. A trifle simplistic, but not inaccurate. I came as soon as I sensed his presence, but never thought to find such a scene of carnage. Yet we prevailed, and thanks to heroic actions, I have learned much. Aye, heroic is the word. I don't want to think about what would have happened if you hadn't been there, pure friend. And your assistance is much appreciated too, Lady Y'shtola. Please give our regards to the Scions. I am glad to have played a role in bringing what I hope is an end to this disturbing spat of abductions. The thread of your fate forms a part of the most intriguing tapestry. Mayhap we will be afforded the chance to speak more in the near future. For now, however, you must see this particular tale to its conclusion. Pray, send my greetings to Commodore Rayner. It's interesting to see the MSQ from a Limson view. Limson, yeah. It's different in Gridania, which is very cool. Yeah, it's very different in Ul'dah as well. It is. This also makes what happens then in Sistasha as your first dungeon feel more in line and make a lot of sense. Because not like you can't be aware of that stuff, but just like it's. And then Ul'dah has Copperbell, so at least like starting in Ul'dah gives you context for that. The first one that Gridania gives you any context for would be Hawk Manor, right? No, Todorok. Which comes first, Todorok or Hawk Manor? Or no, Hawk Manor now is optional, so it's probably Todorok comes around when you're doing the Sylph stuff. I've utterly forgotten. Hawk is like 27. Yeah, but Todorok's the first time that... And also, I mean, honestly, context for the Shroud doesn't give you a lot to work with. No! I'm an idiot. Tamtara. And it does give you a lot of information on... Or starting Gridania does give you information on Tamtara. So that makes a lot of sense. That you'd have, you know, those three as your first three. Hawk Manor isn't optional anymore. It isn't, or it is? I thought they made it optional with the... when they cut things down. It's Tamtara Deep Crowd, yeah. Yeah, Todorok is during the Sylph arc, yeah. I've literally made a video on Tamtara. I don't know why it just was not coming to mind. I might be getting tired. It is interesting, though, that... I mean, not that Gilmora isn't deeply tied to Gridania, but really in a lot of ways the Tamtara Deepcroft tells you much more about Gilmora than it does Gridania. Yeah. So Todorox... Really? Huh. Hello. We'll get to you later. Forgeron, eagerly have awaited your return. Word of your exploits is already spreading through the ranks. My troops and I owe you a great debt of gratitude for your timely assistance. You've shown yourself to be possessed of a sure arm, a strong spirit, and sound judgment. Would that Limsa Lominsa had more of your like. I have little doubt that you shall one day join the ranks of Eorzean's greatest adventurers. It is but a matter of time. Clearly, Baderon's eye for potential remains as sharp as ever, though I doubt even he imagined you capable of such feats. Might you favor me with your own account of the day's events? Such victories bear retelling. I'm super excited to replay every dungeon, is to see which ones have changed. It's gonna be so much fun. I may just have misremembered. I thought Hawk was made optional, so I can either check that later or someone else can check that later. Yasholah's been working with us for quite some time, you see. Oh, and she was only willing to assist the Yellow Jackets in kidnapping and investigation, proving herself a stalwart ally of Limsa Lominsa yet again. Needless to say, after your part in thwarting the attempted sabotage of the victory, the small matter of your deeds at Swiftperch, you too have proven yourself a valued friend to the Thalocracy. Admiral. Oh, it's Moral Whip time. I may have just gotten confused because of Hawkman or Hard. That may have been what happened. May I present to you Admiral Bluefistfin. Or are we gonna get...
So, this is the adventurer I've been reading about in the field reports. I am Melve Bluefistfin, Admiral of Limsa Lominsa. On behalf of my people, I bid you thanks for the deeds you have done this day. A token of our gratitude. What worth is high regard without just reward after all? Ha! Since you first set foot in our city, my good friend Baderon and Commodore Rayner have taken turns at regaling me with tales of your exploits.
I don't care if it's Baderon, I'm saying Baderon.
Safe to say, they left an impression.
Me too, E-Machine. Me too.
Join me at the coming banquet.
I mean, she's flawed,
A seat of honor at the celebratory feast is the least I can offer the man who foiled the Sahagin.
I mean, my favorite leaders are like Raubon and Nanamo, but I have a real soft spot for Roland. Partly because I have a soft spot for Roganin.
And don't be late. Your fellow guests will be eager to take the measure of their newest hero, and some do not take kindly to being kept waiting. Till then, may you walk in the light of the crystal.
In modern times, that's going to be an interesting saying, if that continues to exist at all. Okay, that seems like a perfect place to stop for today, because it is both time and, yeah. She makes a fascinating admiral. Yeah, Catherine, she does. And more than that, I love, she gets an arc too. Like, all the leaders get arcs, especially like Nanamo. But I love seeing her try to deal with the conflict between piratery and moving forward onto the future. Poor Kani Senna, nobody seems to like. That's funny you say that, Lori, because like most of my friends all love her. And I have a lot of friends who really hate Merlib. you think another Warrior of Light will rise within our generation? I know some will after our time, but I'm not sure they will for now. It depends on whether you need to use a warrior, like the Warrior of Light, a Warrior of Light. Is a warrior, what does a Warrior of Light mean post Endwalker? You know, it depends. We'll have that conversation later, AC, though. It's a good conversation. She's my fave too, but that's because I have a huge bias for Rogan and their culture in general. Same, Atelier, as well as an attraction. Speaking of, if you do love Rogadin culture, make sure to check out our video, our half-an-hour video long, all about Rogadin. As a white mage main, I love Connie Senna. Yeah, totally understandable, E-Machine. Yeah, the job you pick up can also affect it a lot. Okay, so I need to sign off so I can eat and rest my voice, but thank you so much for watching, everyone. I really deeply appreciate it. If you want to talk to other people who are here in the chat or elsewhere, you can join our Discord. There should be a link in the chat, or I'm sure Ray might post it. The other thing is that if you'd like to support us financially, you can sign up for Patreon, where you get some relatively simple rewards, but things that will help make sure that we can make the entirety of the Eorzean Archives financially stable and help us to do future things, like go to FanFest to record things for that, a new camera so that this 30 FPS nightmare is gone, and, you know, all that kind of jazz. Beyond that, tomorrow is Friday. We will be having Lore Book Club. If you have an interest in that, you can sign up on the Discord, where I provide copies of Encyclopedia Eorzea Volume 1, and people read a couple pages, and then we talk about it. It's a great time, and yeah, it's a really great deep dive and to help remember things. On top of that, on Saturday, we have our community live stream. Make sure to show up for that. If there's anything you want to accomplish, do you want to get a trial series done that you haven't? Do you want to get a minion that you've been doing run after run and haven't getting it? Are there trials you need to farm for a mount? Come join us and we'll have a great time on that. We're on Crystal Zalera, so if you're in EU or Ocean or JP, I'm sorry. But hopefully that will be fixed sooner rather than later. Thanks for the stream. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it, E-Machine. If you enjoyed the stream, you are enjoying. Yep, thank you, Ray. It was a great video. Thank you, Atelier. Thanks for the stream. Thank you. So, headed off for tonight. We will be picking the MSQ back up on Monday, because the current schedule is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday we put out a video, Thursday, and then Friday is Lore Book Club. So yes, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday will be stream days for now, for the foreseeable future. The timing, based on the fact that we have a lot of EU people, I may consider shifting the streams an hour back, and start at 3 p.m. CST and end at 6 p.m. Just depending on what all of you all need. So if you're in the Discords, feel free. I'm gonna put up a poll or something to ask people what time makes the most sense for them. That all said, thank you everyone, and may you always ever walk in the light of the crystal.